However, the Sky Origin sect and the Traceless sect had never interacted much. At this time, a Traceless sect's elder came over. Zhang Fang didn't know what the other party's intentions were. A few minutes later, a gray-robed old man came forward. As soon as he saw Zhang Fang, he smiled and cupped his hands. Traceless sect's Su Yuan greets Great Elder Zhang. So it's Elder Su. Please take a seat. Thank you. Su Yuan thanked him and sat down opposite Zhang Fang. To be able to become an elder of the Traceless sect, he was also a great cultivator who had reached the God realm. But even so, Su Yuan didn't dare to look down on Zhang Fang, a cultivator in the airborne realm. Elder Su, what is the purpose of your visit this time? Looking at Su Yuan in front of him, Zhang Fang asked calmly. Hearing this, Su Yuan's expression suddenly became solemn and said, This time, I'm here for the demon race. I heard that a heavenly human demon had attacked your sect. I don't know if this news is true or not. Zhang Fang let out a soft hum, which was a tacit agreement. However, he now understood the purpose of Su Yuan's visit. The demon race. Judging from the fact that the Traceless sect and the Sky Origin sect didn't have much interaction, the other party couldn't have just come to greet them. The real reason was probably related to their own interests. Now that the imperial court is in constant civil war, it's difficult for the sects in the cultivation world to stay out of it. The northern cloud mansion is close to the endless mountain range, and the demon race is also eyeing it covetously. After getting Zhang Fang's acknowledgement, Su Yuan took a deep breath and said seriously, Elder Zhang should be very clear about how strong the demon race is. The cultivation world of the northern cloud mansion is weak. If the demon race attacks on a large scale, I'm afraid it will be difficult to resist. Therefore, I hope that the Traceless sect can join forces with your sect to fight against the demon race. He didn't mean to beat around the bush. The current situation didn't allow the Traceless sect to do so. Or else, no one would be able to get any benefits if they made the Sky Origin sect unhappy. As for Zhang Fang, he didn't immediately reply. Instead, he pondered for a moment. Alliance. He had thought about this before, but he didn't do it. Because of the alliance, whoever spoke first would be at a disadvantage. With the strength of the Sky Origin sect, they could sit still and wait for the other sects to take the bait. Now that Su Yuan had come, it proved that the other sects could no longer withstand the pressure in front of the demon race. Otherwise, the Traceless sect would never send anyone here. Thoughts ran through his mind. Zhang Fang didn't respond directly. Instead, he chuckled and said, Is the alliance only your sect's idea? Or do the other sects have the same idea? This is my Traceless sect's idea, but I think the other sects should have the same idea. Zhang Fang nodded but didn't say anything else. The scene was a little awkward for a moment. A moment later, Su Yuan had to ask, I wonder what your sect thinks about this matter? I don't have any opinion. The human race has always been on the same side, so it's natural for us to fight against the demon race together. Zhang Fang smiled and then said, But who should be the leader of this alliance? The Sky Origin sect is the top sect in the Northern Cloud Mansion, so it should be led by the Sky Origin sect. Su Yuan replied without hesitation, If that's the case, then my sect can't agree. Okay. What? Su Yuan wanted to nod and agree, but he quickly reacted. He looked at Zhang Fang with a puzzled expression, as if he didn't understand why the other party refused. The entire cultivation world of the Northern Cloud Mansion was led by the Sky Origin sect. It could be considered as directly acknowledging the supreme status of the Sky Origin sect. In this way, the reputation of the Sky Origin sect would definitely increase greatly. In his opinion, the Sky Origin sect shouldn't refuse such a good thing. Zhang Fang shook his head and said, This matter is of great importance. Let's wait for my sect's sect master to return before discussing it further. Elder Su must be tired after coming all the way here. You can go to Cold Mountain City and rest for the night. It won't be too late to return to Traceless sect tomorrow. At this point, he had already asked Su Yuan to leave. Seeing this, Su Yuan had to get up and leave. After Su Yuan left, Zhang Fang sneered and shook his head. It's a good plan to have the Sky Origin sect as the leader. This matter seemed to be very beneficial to the Sky Origin sect. In fact, if one seriously thought about it, there was no practical thing at all. As the only top sect in the Northern Cloud Mansion, the Sky Origin sect had two celestial beings. Whether the other sects recognized it or not, it was impossible to shake the supreme status of the Sky Origin sect. This status, the Sky Origin sect obtained it with his own strength, so he didn't need others to set him off. On the contrary, if the Sky Origin sect agreed to the alliance with the Traceless sect, the entire cultivation world of the Northern Cloud Mansion would come to them immediately when something happened, and the Sky Origin sect would be in endless trouble. The original top sect would directly become the Northern Cloud Mansion's hired thug. Of course, if other sects obtained this status, they would be willing to be hired thug. But for the Sky Origin sect, there was no need for this at all. Su Yuan wanted to gain something without risking anything, so how could Zheng Fang be fooled? With the current power of the Sky Origin sect, he didn't need those illusory things at all. Or these sects would come up with practical benefits. Otherwise, the Sky Origin sect wouldn't play with them. Of course, although Zheng Fang was the Great Elder, he couldn't really make the decision. He still needed to wait for Qin Shujian to return before he could make a decision. Moreover, currently, the other sects in the cultivation world of the Northern Cloud Mansion didn't feel too much pressure, so it wasn't to the point of desperation. After all, although the celestial beings of the Demon Clan set foot in the Northern Cloud Mansion, they didn't cause any harm to them, but were beaten back by the Sky Origin sect as soon as they came out. The reason why Su Yuan came. It was also because he was afraid of the deterrence of the celestial beings. But it wasn't easy to say that these sects were willing to pay the price just because of deterrence. Unless these sects really felt the pain, then there was a possibility that they would give in. It's a good idea to gain something without risking anything, but it's a pity that you found the wrong target. Zheng Fang laughed in spite of himself, feeling disdain towards Su Yuan. On the other side, after Su Yuan left, his face didn't look too good either. The direct refusal of the Sky Origin sect made all the original plans of the Traceless sect fall through. As for waiting for the sect master to return before making a decision, it was completely perfunctory and didn't have any credibility at all. For this, Su Yuan couldn't force anything. Since the Sky Origin sect didn't agree, he could only think of another way. Just as the Northern Cloud Mansion was stirring up waves, the situation in the Central State Mansion became even more tense. Originally, there were dukes who came to the rescue of the emperor. The situation in the Central State Mansion had been alleviated a lot, but with the outbreak of several consecutive battles, the imperial court was retreating step by step. For a time, they lost a lot of experts and troops, which led to the destruction of the original advantage they had. Kill. The army continued to fight. Arrows were shot out like feathers, bringing with them puffs of blood. The originally stable city defense array was shaking violently at this moment, as if it would break at any time. Although the blood on the hard city wall had been refreshed and disappeared, those terrifying attacks still left indelible traces on it. All the enemies who step on the city wall will be rewarded with 10 taels of silver for every one killed. Fang Jin blasted an enemy with a palm strike, then looked around the chaotic battle situation with scarlet eyes and roared loudly. Until now, he had forgotten how long he had lasted. Maybe 10 days, or maybe more than a month. The army's attack never stopped for a moment. The defenders on the city wall were replaced again and again, and the casualties were countless. But they had been desperately resisting the enemy's advance. Until now, many enemies had climbed up one after another. But the city wall was still under the control of the imperial court. Kill. Fang Jin casually picked up a broken sword and threw it forward. A terrifying force exploded in the air, directly shooting a dozen enemies. Then, he took another step forward and flew into the air. As his saber fell, 2 great cultivators of the divine martial arts realm who were bombarding the city defense array were cut in half in the air. After doing all this, Fang Jin's chest also rose and fell violently. Even after breaking through to the celestial being realm, there was a limit to his vital essence. After fighting for so long, he basically didn't stop. No matter how vast his vital essence was, it couldn't hold on any longer. Fang Jin didn't expect the rebels' attack would be so crazy, without any rest at all, and they didn't care about the casualties of the soldiers. Until now, the soldiers who were originally guarding the city had almost all died. Those who were still guarding the city were almost all people sent by the imperial court. At this moment, in the void, there were also celestial beings fighting. With the intervention of the sects and other vassals, more and more celestial beings were fighting. Led by Dan Hao, there were 7 celestial beings on the imperial court side. Looking at the rebels' side, there were also many celestial beings. Zhang Yi held the burning mountain raging flame flag in his hand, and the 1,000-foot-long golden crow burned the mountains and boiled the sea, pouncing toward Dan Hao and the others. On the other side, Du Chengwu's fist momentum was also shocking, with a tendency to destroy everything. Rumble, the void trembled, and the sun and moon dimmed. Fang Jin was also constantly paying attention to the changes in the battle in the void. It wasn't that he didn't want to make a move, but that he didn't have the opportunity to do so. The rebels' attack was fierce. Without him, a celestial being, there was a possibility that they could break through the city at any time. So, the only thing he could do was to stand guard here and stabilize the situation. Uncle Qin Yang, how dare you betray the imperial court? Suddenly, Dan Hao's angry voice spread through the world. One of the people who were originally working together to fight against the rebels suddenly turned around and attacked Dan Hao when he was unprepared, bombarding him until he coughed up blood. For a moment, the battle had undergone a huge change. Not good. Seeing this scene, Fang Jin was shocked. Then, he looked into the city and saw that the West Lofty Prefecture's army had already killed their own soldiers. For a moment, the situation was also chaotic. West Lofty Marquis has betrayed us. Kill all the West Lofty Prefecture's army. Fang Jin wouldn't completely trust these vassals, so he was already prepared. Then, he took a step into the air and went to the sky to help Dan Hao. Originally, the two sides were evenly matched. Now that West Lofty Marquis Qin Yang had betrayed them and caused Dan Hao to be seriously injured, the imperial court was suddenly at a disadvantage. Among them, Dan Hao was in danger. Fang Jin couldn't just sit and watch Dan Hao be defeated, so it was natural for him to save him. He took to the air. The saber in his hand slashed out, and the saber energy slashed directly at Qin Yang. Qin Yang blasted out a palm, and the palm energy instantly annihilated the saber energy. Fang Jin took a step back and slashed out with his saber, instantly neutralizing the other party's attack. Everything happened in an instant. Dan Hao was originally caught off guard by Qin Yang, but after Fang Jin's intervention, he took the opportunity to adjust. Everyone, retreat into the city. Dan Hao covered his chest with one hand and looked at the situation in front of him. He immediately made a decision. Hearing this, the other celestial beings no longer entangled with Zhang Yi and the others, and directly fled into the city. The celestial beings were bent on it. It was difficult to stop them. Therefore, Zhang Yi and the others also allowed the celestial beings of the imperial court to retreat. Don't worry, Dan Hao is already seriously injured. Now that we have Marquis Shichong on our side, it will be easy to break into the city. Letting them escape will only make them live a little longer. Zhang Yi looked as if victory was in his hands. At this time, Qin Yang said, our Shichong army has already caused internal strife in the city. Now is the time to attack the city. Otherwise, when they are relieved, the difficulty of attacking the city will be greatly increased. There was one more thing he didn't say. If they let the Shichong army fight alone, the longer they delayed, the greater the losses would be. As for Qin Yang's thoughts, the others were also very clear in their hearts. Subsequently, they returned to the central military camp and immediately ordered the army to attack. Immediately, the strength of the siege became even more fierce. On the other side, Dan Hao and the others retreated into the city, and everyone's expression was frighteningly ugly. The thing they were most worried about had happened. Some of the other dukes who came to help the emperor also secretly allied with the rebels. Now that Marquis Shichong, Qin Yang, had rebelled, no one dared to guarantee that the other dukes would not be the next Qin Yang. But before this happened, the imperial court could not take any measures. Or else, the rebels hadn't even attacked yet, but he and his men had already fallen apart. Fang Jin's expression was grave. He looked at the pale Dan Hao and asked, General Dan, how is your injury? It's okay. If I hadn't been on guard against that old thing, I might have really died in his hands. Dan Hao panted a few times, but his complexion looked better. He gritted his teeth and said, he never thought that Qin Yang would betray him. It was only because of Luo Jing's matter that he had been vigilant, just in case. As a result, Qin Yanghua was really a traitor. For this, Dan Hao was both angry and helpless. Fang Jin said, now that Qin Yang has rebelled, the Shichong army in the city has already caused internal strife. If I'm not wrong, those rebels will definitely take this opportunity to break into the city. In the end, he also felt tired. If there was no internal strife, with the current strength, they could still defend the city. But with the Shichong army cooperating from the inside and outside, the garrison in the city was in chaos, and it was difficult for them to do anything. Hearing this, the others didn't look good either. If things don't work out, we should focus on preserving our strength, one of them suddenly said. Dan Hao and Fang Jin immediately looked at each other, not knowing what to think for a moment. The person who spoke was not someone else. It was an expert from the Imperial Astronomer. To some extent, the Imperial Astronomer represented the face of the royal family and had a lot of power. So, neither Dan Hao nor Fang Jin could ignore the other's words. Fang Jin said, if we retreat, I'm afraid His Majesty will punish us. It's not your problem, City Lord Fang. There's nothing you can do if the city is broken. His Majesty is wise and won't punish you. At worst, I'll plead for mercy on your behalf. I don't think His Majesty will get angry easily. Ji Yun smiled and dispelled Fang Jin's worries. Hearing this, Fang Jin also felt relieved. As long as the Imperial Astronomer was willing to step in, the problem would not be big. Dan Hao also nodded and said, now that the city is in chaos, it's impossible to defend the city. Zhang Yi and the others have greatly increased their strength with Qin Yang, a saint expert. At this moment, the best thing to do is to abandon the city and leave to preserve their strength. That's the only way. Fang Jin nodded. He was not someone who only knew how to defend blindly. He could still distinguish when he could and when he could not. Not long after, the teleportation gate opened and everyone retreated from here one after another. The city that had been defended for more than a month was finally declared to be destroyed. Compared to the fierce battle here, the battle on the other side was obviously much calmer. Although there were also armies attacking the city, the siege was not as fierce as Zhang Yi and the others. The two sides fought back and forth, and no one had any advantage. On the city wall, Marquis Bayun stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the battle in front of him calmly. And in the camp of the rebels, Shun Hong stared at him coldly and shouted in a deep voice, Marquis Bayun, the human sovereign is already dead. As an almighty, why do you have to risk your life for Xiyang? Why don't you and I work together to break into the imperial city and enjoy the world together in the future? The Shao family has been in the imperial court for generations. Although the human emperor is dead, the imperial court has never betrayed the Shao family. How can I be such a disloyal person? Marquis Bayun laughed heartily. In my opinion, Marquis Wu and should retreat now. As long as I am here, you will not be able to break this city. Xiao Changfeng, even if you can stop me, can you stop others? The destruction of the great Zhao dynasty is inevitable. Even if you are a mighty figure, you are not qualified to change your fate. I dare not say that I can change my fate, but it is enough to deal with you. You, Shun Hong's chest heaved up and down. Obviously, he was very angry with Marquis Bayun. If he could, he would like to break the city in front of him right now and let the other party know that even a mighty figure could not do whatever he wanted. However, although Shun Hong was angry, he understood in his heart. With his current strength, unless he joined forces with the other Marquis, he might not be able to do anything to the other party. A mighty figure. To a certain extent, he could already suppress one party. Moreover, the army that Marquis Bayun brought this time was made up of the elites of Bayun Mansion. In terms of strength, they were not much weaker than Wu and Mansion. From the start of the war until now, it had been a few days, but there was still no progress in attacking the city. It was not that Shun Hong was unwilling to attack the city with all his might, but Marquis Bayun was guarding the city, making it impregnable. The difficulty of breaking through was beyond anyone's imagination. Retreat. After thinking for a long time, Shun Hong suddenly gave the order to retreat. The army that was originally attacking the city was now rapidly retreating like the tide. On the city wall, when Su Mingying saw this, he could not help but ask, "Marquis, should we take this opportunity to kill Shen Hong when he retreats?" "Let him retreat. It is enough as long as the city is intact." Marquis Baiyun was nonchalant and did not care about Shen Hong's retreat at all. He had only promised the imperial court to guard the city under his feet and not let the rebels break through. As for other things, it had nothing to do with Baiyun Mansion. Su Mingyang and the others understood what the Marquis of Northern Cloud meant, and they all smiled. They were afraid that their Marquis would really pledge his loyalty to the imperial court to the extent of disregarding the lives of his brothers. However, now it seemed that things weren't that bad yet. Chapter 468. Shen Hong retreated. Marquis Baiyun turned a blind eye to it. He only promised Shi Yang to defend the city, but he didn't promise to help him destroy the army of Wuhan Prefecture. He had done his best to defend the city and make Shen Hong take a detour. As for other things, Marquis Baiyun didn't intend to get involved. For Shen Hong, now that Marquis Baiyun was in the city, unless he wanted both sides to suffer, there was no hope for him to break into the city. But if he went all out to attack the city, he was unwilling to do so. The army of Wuhan Prefecture was not the only army in the coalition army. Although breaking into the imperial city was their main goal now, after the imperial city was destroyed, the fight for the throne would be another matter. So, Shen Hong also needed to preserve his strength now to avoid losing to others in the fight for the throne. He didn't want to do anything for others. He didn't want to do it, and he wouldn't do it. Although Shen Hong's efforts were in vain because of Marquis Baiyun. However, in the other two places, the Alliance army crushed the imperial court's advantage like a hot knife through butter. The imperial court was defeated so quickly. The first reason was because of the rebellion of the Shichong army led by Qin Yanghua. The second reason was that Marquis Pingchuan Duanzhe also betrayed the imperial court at the critical moment. Two vassals rebelled. In an instant, the imperial court's advantage was wiped out. That was not all. Because of the two vassals' rebellion, the imperial court's army also suffered a great loss. In the end, they had to abandon their territory and retreat in defeat toward Zhengzhou Prefecture. Boom! An evil demon fell. Qin Shujian swallowed the red lotus, and his life force finally soared to 20 billion points. 20 billion points of life force. It had long exceeded the amount of life force needed to upgrade the Guiyuan ancestral scripture to perfection. But during this time, Qin Shujian had been crazily hunting evil demons, and he didn't even waste the short time to improve his strength. So even if he had accumulated 20 billion points of life force, he still didn't upgrade the Guiyuan ancestral scripture. After the demon was killed, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. He directly consumed 10 billion points of life force to upgrade the Guiyuan ancestral scripture to the 10th level of the divine martial arts. Then, it was an improvement in all aspects of his body. The peak of the divine martial arts realm. Qin Shujian closed his eyes and felt the increase in strength in his body. A feeling of fullness rose in his heart. After a long while, he opened his eyes again. The peak of divine martial arts. It was the limit of the realm that could be reached under the heavens. Without the help of the red lotus of purgation, it would have taken him decades to reach this stage. But now, that time had been shortened by over 100 times. Subsequently, he turned his attention back to his attribute panel. Level 40 of the Guiyuan Ancestral Canon, High-Grade Divine Level, Level 10 Ancient Immortal Body, Level 10 Impenetrable Body, Level 10 Red Lotus of Purgation. It was a simple attribute. There were no other changes due to the breakthrough in his cultivation technique. However, after all three traits reached level 10, Qin Shujian gained unparalleled strength. Immediately after, he then turned his attention to other cultivation methods and martial arts. Apart from the Dao-level martial arts and the Guiyuan ancestral scripture, all other martial arts cultivation techniques had a plus sign that indicated they could be upgraded. However, Qin Shujian simply glanced at it and ignored it. For him, before the Guiyuan ancestral scripture broke through to the celestial realm, all other cultivation techniques had to be put aside. Nothing was more important than breaking through to the celestial realm. Although there was only a fine line between the peak of the divine martial arts realm and the celestial realm, but it was this fine line that made the difference between the two. Now, there were still more than 10 billion life sources left, but there was no plus sign on the Guiyuan ancestral scripture that could be upgraded. Qin Shujian thought to himself, I'll find a way to harvest 10 billion life sources. If there is still no sign that it can be upgraded, then I can only take the path of He Chung cultivation technique. Or rather, I can directly learn a divine cultivation technique and then upgrade it to the celestial realm. In this way, my own realm will also break through. For a moment, Qin Shujian had arranged 2 backup plans for himself. If 20 billion life sources could not upgrade the Guiyuan ancestral scripture, then he would go back to the old path or learn other cultivation techniques to break through. The former would take time. The latter, perhaps other divine cultivation techniques, might not be as powerful as the Guiyuan ancestral scripture after breaking through to the celestial realm, but it would take much less time. There were pros and cons to both. It just depended on what he chose. As for the divine cultivation techniques, Qin Shujian also had them. When he destroyed the Heavenly Corpse sect, he moved all the other parties' belongings, including the divine cultivation techniques. The Demon Clan also wanted to take advantage of Marquis Baiyun's absence to test the waters in the Baiyun mansion. They were also unwilling to be left out. The situation in the Imperial Court is also changing constantly. I don't know when this fire will burn me. To put it bluntly, the one with the bigger fist has the final say. Qin Shujian skimmed through the information during this period of time and had an idea in his mind. The Imperial Court was easy to deal with. As long as he did not take the initiative to get involved, whether it was the Imperial Court or the rebels, they would not attack him for no reason. But the Demon Clan was not so easy to deal with. The Celestial Realm cultivator who attacked before was just a test and also a sign. If they attacked again later, then it would not be as simple as 1 or 2 Celestial Realm demons. Thinking of this, the joy of breaking through to the peak of the divine martial realm was also gone. Fortunately, there was still Jiang Feng overseeing Yuan's sect. Although this Sky Corpse's intelligence was not high, its strength was truly terrifying. If he had not cut off Lian Gumming's luck back then, in that battle, he would have been 100% defeated. Lian Gumming alone was not easy to deal with, let alone Jiang Feng. Immediately, Qin Shujian left where he was and continued his history of hunting demons. Human, boom. You, boom, boom. Just stand still. Why are you talking so much? Qin Shujian looked speechlessly at the demon lying on the ground. He squeezed his wrist hard as if he was relaxing his muscles and bones. As for that demon, it was still in a state of confusion. He did not know when it started. A person descended from the sky and then hammered it. The strength of the person was so strong. It had reached a level he had never seen in his life. Even the human clan expert who defeated it and sealed it in the end did not completely crush it like Qin Shujian. Suddenly, this demon felt that times had changed. He had thought that the human clan expert he had met back then was strong enough. He had not expected that an even stronger one would appear. This strength was only reflected in the true dominion. However, for an expert like this, if he was strong in the true dominion, he would be an extremely powerful existence in the future. He looked at the demon lying on the ground. Qin Shujian did not feel much of a sense of accomplishment. When he looked at it with his Dharma eye, it was only a first-stage heaven being. In the true dominion, it could barely condense a universe skylock. With such strength, among the hundreds of evil devils he had hunted, it could be ranked in the bottom 10. Therefore, there was nothing to be proud of. Qin Shujian, who had originally wanted to use the red lotus of purgation to refine the demon, suddenly thought of something and stopped. Let me ask you a question. How many demons are there in the Fiend Abyss? Human, I am afraid that I will scare you to death if I tell you. Bam! As soon as he finished speaking, a huge fist landed on the demon's face, causing flesh and blood to splatter everywhere. Qin Shujian withdrew his fist as a blood-curdling scream was heard. Then, he said calmly, "Speak human language. How many demons are there?" "I don't know." Bam! "How dare you be so stubborn? How many demons are there?" "I don't know." Bam! "Very good. I didn't expect you to be so stubborn." Qin Shujian laughed out of extreme anger. As he looked at the demon under his feet, anger surged from the bottom of his heart. How dare you be so stubborn at this time? He was not prepared to talk nonsense with this demon. After all, if he could not get an answer from this demon, he could ask the next one. Seeing that the demon still had some fiend chi left, Qin Shujian raised his fist. He intended to exhaust the demon's remaining fiend chi first. Qin Shujian raised his fist again. Upon seeing this, the evil devil angrily said, "Human, I really don't know. The devil abyss is vast and boundless. No one knows how many evil devils there are. In any case, evil devils will be born every once in a while. If you really want to know, you can go to the fiend abyss and take a look yourself." Bam! Another punch landed. Woo! The demon was dumbfounded once again. He clearly said it, but the other party still wanted to beat him to death. He wanted to resist, but he couldn't do anything. 10 minutes later, the demon's fiend chi was exhausted. It was lying on the ground in a bloody mess. If it wasn't for its undulating chest, it would be no different from being dead. Seeing this, Qin Shujian withdrew his fist and waved his hand to set up a formation. Then, the red lotus of purgation ignited and swallowed the demon. The red lotus of purgation swallowed the demon. He was thinking about what the other party said before. The fiend abyss was vast. Even the demons did not know how many of their kind there were in the fiend abyss. This news, it was undoubtedly very shocking. After all, the demon's strength was at least a celestial. In this case, how many demons were there? 100,000? Or 1,000,000? Or even more? If that was the case, then the strength of the fiend abyss was very terrifying. No one could guarantee when the fiend abyss would descend here. If such a thing really happened, not only him, but all the creatures in this world would be finished. This was not him scaring himself. Since demons could descend to this world, it meant that more demons could descend. Even if there wasn't one now, it didn't mean that there wouldn't be one in the future. Qin Shujian had always had this sense of crisis. It was just that it had unknowingly shifted from the players to the fiend abyss. More importantly, based on the words of this evil devil, Yi Zichen didn't know what to do. Every once in a while, demons would be born in the fiend abyss. This meant that, even if he kept hunting demons now, he might not be able to weaken the fiend abyss too much. The fiend abyss is the real trouble. Compared to the fiend abyss, the players are nothing. When Qin Shujian thought of this, his train of thought suddenly changed. Maybe when the players collectively break through to the celestial level, they might be able to compete with the fiend abyss. Everyone was immortal and indestructible. The number of players was more than the fiend abyss. The more Qin Shujian thought about it, the more he felt that this was possible. However, according to the current progress of the players, it would take at least 100 years for the first celestial level player to be born. The players are troublesome. The fiend abyss is also troublesome. If there is a chance to destroy both, things will be much easier. Letting out a long breath, Qin Shujian looked at the red lotus in front of him. After such a long time, the demon had already refined and gathered all the energy in his body on this red lotus. Reaching out his hand, he grabbed the red lotus. In a few seconds, the red lotus was completely absorbed. At the same time, the source of life had once again broken through the 20 billion mark. When the source of life broke through, Qin Shujian's attention was fixed on the cultivation method column. If he couldn't break through the 20 billion source of life, then he would have to choose another path. To be honest, he didn't want to do this. But if he stayed at the peak of the divine martial arts for too long, it was also not what he wanted. As the source of life broke through to 20 billion, there were no changes in the Guiyuan ancestral canon. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's heart sank. Is it not possible? Even though he was prepared, when he saw this news, he was still a little disappointed. Suddenly, Qin Shujian thought of another thing. It seemed that when he had upgraded the cultivation method to perfection, he was stuck at the peak of the current realm, and there was no plus sign that he could upgrade. When he broke through the spirit martial arts realm, the source of life he stored was many times more than when he broke through the peak of the true martial arts realm, but there was still no sign that he could upgrade. It was just that Qin Shujian didn't care about this at that time. For a moment, he forgot about it. F***CK. Do I really have to fuse the cultivation method? Or do I have to learn the God-connecting cultivation method of the Heavenly Corpse sect? Qin Shujian couldn't help but complain. He didn't want either of these two options. Then, his mind scanned the Guiyuan ancestral canon a few times unwillingly, hoping to trigger something. It is detected that your divine-level upper-level cultivation method, Guiyuan ancestral canon, has reached perfection, and you can consume 20 billion source of life to break through the limit. Because breaking the limit of the cultivation method requires a certain amount of luck value to break through. Note: the more luck value consumed, the higher the upper limit of the cultivation method after breaking through the limit. Note: the minimum amount of luck value to inject is 100 points, and the maximum amount of luck value to inject is 10,000 points. The system prompt suddenly appeared. At first, Qin Shujian was stunned for a few seconds, and then he revealed a look of ecstasy. It was feasible. The original limit of the cultivation method could be directly broken without fusing. Looking at the Guiyuan ancestral canon, there was still no plus sign that could be upgraded. Seeing this, Qin Shujian knew that this should be a hidden function. Thinking of this, without any hesitation, he immediately chose to break through. But when Qin Shujian was completely sure, he suddenly stopped. The breakthrough time is long, and the breakthrough time cannot be moved. Please be prepared. The breakthrough time is long, cannot be moved. These 2 points made Qin Shujian frown. He looked at the surrounding environment. Obviously, it was not a suitable place to break through. I've been out for so long. It's time to go back. Just in time to break through to the heaven realm in the sect. No one will disturb me. Soon, Qin Shujian collected his mind, lifted his body into the air, and flew towards a nearby city. This was Wuhan Prefecture. Unknowingly, he had already left Baiyun Prefecture. Even if there was a teleportation gate, it would take dozens of consecutive transfers to reach Baiyun Prefecture. Fortunately, Qin Shujian was not short of money now. Even if the cost of each transfer was very expensive, it was still within the range that he could afford. It took more than half a day. When the scene changed again, Qin Shujian found himself in a familiar place. Sect. Sect Master. Disciple greets Sect Master. When the 2 Yuan sect disciples guarding the teleportation gate saw the person who had suddenly appeared, they were stunned for a moment. However, they quickly reacted and bowed with an excited expression. For many Yuan sect disciples, Qin Shujian was a legend. Even some of the player disciples had great respect for Sect Master Qin. Such respect, not because of other places, but because of his strength. Qin Shujian nodded and said casually, "No need to be so polite. Is there anything unusual in Cold Mountain City during this period?" Sect Master, everything in the city is normal during this period. Good. Thank you for your hard work. Qin Shujian revealed a gentle smile and then left the teleportation gate. On the spot, only the 2 native disciples were left standing there with excited expressions. For a moment, they were somewhat at a loss for what to do. Sect Master's praise. This was not a treatment that anyone could receive. If he managed to catch the other party's eye because of this incident, then even if he didn't have a meteoric rise in his career in the future, he would definitely have a much better life. Leaving the teleportation gate, Qin Shujian was not in a hurry at this time and did not fly away directly. Instead, he walked slowly in the city like an ordinary cultivator. Since the establishment of Cold Mountain City, he was considered a city master, but he had not been here too many times. At most. Even if the number of times he had used the teleportation gate was included, it would not exceed the number of times he had come here. Speaking of which, I have neglected my duty as a city master. Walking in the city, Qin Shujian did not hide his appearance. If he had to hide his identity in his own territory, then it would be meaningless. Moreover, Qin Shujian was not afraid of being famous. If he had the strength and still had to hide his identity, then he might as well find a deep mountain and hide in it and directly cultivate. Wouldn't that be better? Anyway, he could not understand the mentality of such a person. He was afraid of being famous, and he wanted to be famous. This was no different from taking off his pants to fart. Sect Master Qin. Greetings, Sect Master Qin. As expected by Qin Shujian, there were still many people in Cold Mountain City who knew him. Walking here, from time to time, people would stop and greet him. Their expressions were either polite or respectful, making him feel comfortable just by looking at them. For a moment, Qin Shujian was in a good mood. He politely nodded and smiled in response to everyone. Along the way, when he reached the city gate, he felt that the expression on his face had become somewhat stiff. After exiting the city gate, he flew into the air and flew towards Yuan's sect. In midair, Qin Shujian rubbed his face hard, causing the originally stiff facial muscles to recover. Although it was tiring to laugh, but needless to say, he realized that this feeling was quite good. Cold Mountain City was not far from Yuan's sect. With Qin Shujian's flying speed, he did not even need a minute to appear at the foot of Cold Mountain. Disciple greets Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. When the disciples in and out saw Qin Shujian, they all stopped and bowed respectfully. At this time, the news of Qin Shujian's return had officially spread. Actually, when he appeared in Cold Mountain City, there were already disciples who had sent the news back. When he arrived in front of the mountain gate, Qin Shujian could not help but pause for a moment. His gaze fell on Jiang Feng, who was sitting in front of the mountain gate stone tablet. This sky corpse had also sensed Qin Shujian's arrival. However, it did not make any movements and continued to sit there cross-legged. To this, Qin Shujian did not pay too much attention to it. He realized that his contact with Jiang Feng was not broken. This was enough. As long as the contact was not broken, then this heavenly corpse would still be under his control. As Qin Shujian entered the sect, Niu Feng also came up to him and smiled. Sect Master, what did you gain this time? Not bad. Speaking of gains, Qin Shujian also smiled and then changed the topic. This time I need to cultivate in seclusion for a period of time. Put aside all the important things temporarily. Everything will be discussed after I come out of seclusion. Sect Master, are you going to break through again? Sort of. Qin Shujian replied ambiguously. He did not say whether he was going to break through to the celestial being realm or the divine martial arts realm. However, judging from Niu Feng's reaction, he obviously would not guess that he was going to break through to the celestial being realm. Seeing this, Qin Shujian would not deliberately explain too much. Before breaking through to the celestial being realm, there was no need to deliberately publicize these things. Everything would be discussed after the breakthrough. After a few simple words, Qin Shujian did not meet the others and went straight to the forbidden area alone. On the other side, Niu Feng stood in place and did not come to his senses for a long time. Sect Master should have broken through to the divine martial arts realm less than half a year ago. Now he is going to break through to the second level of the divine martial arts realm. The speed is really amazing. In his mind, if it continued at this speed, in less than 10 years, the Origin sect would really have a celestial being realm cultivator. Thinking of this, Niu Feng felt a little breathless and muttered to himself, is the reincarnation of a powerful figure really so terrifying? Breaking through to the next level is as simple as eating and drinking. Compared to Qin Shujian, compared to himself, Niu Feng felt the deep malice of this world towards him. Regarding Niu Feng's thoughts, Qin Shujian had no idea at all. Now he had completely come to the forbidden area. In order to ensure that there would be no accidents during the breakthrough, he deliberately took out the 27 square disc and set up a powerful defensive formation around him. The formation was set up. Only the celestial being realm cultivators could break it. At this time, Qin Shujian was finally at ease. Then he calmed his mind and was ready to break through to the celestial being realm. He opened the attribute panel. His consciousness fell on the Guiyuan ancestral cannon. When the system prompt appeared, he directly chose to upgrade. Chapter 469. In an instant, 20 billion life source consumed. Along with the consumption of life source, there were also 10,000 luck points. Since he wanted to break through the limit, he had to do it perfectly. Anyway, Qin Shujian wasn't that short of luck points now. After killing a lot of evil spirits, his luck points had also broken through the 40,000 mark. Right now, he was only using 10,000 to upgrade his cultivation method, which was still within the acceptable range. Moreover, not to mention a quarter, even if he took out all of his luck points, Qin Shujian would still be willing. the experience of the spirit martial realm and the god martial realm told him. If the starting limit of the later cultivation methods was not high enough, then the consumption of life source to upgrade was enough to make people despair. The god martial realm could be upgraded so quickly. It was because there were still many evil spirits in the Great Zhao. But until now, the evil spirits were almost all killed. Even if there were still demon disasters in some places, there wouldn't be too many, unless the evil spirits in the spirit realm and the great domain were brought out. But the spirit realm and the great domain didn't have the so-called shackles. Even if he broke through the heaven realm, Qin Shujian wasn't confident that he could kill the evil spirits with 100% certainty. If any of them were to leak out, it would be a huge disaster, causing a demon disaster for no reason. Qin Shujian didn't think that he was crazy to this extent. At this moment, as his life source and luck points were consumed, Qin Shujian only felt the scene in front of him change, and in the next moment, he had already appeared in a void. The void was boundless and boundless. In the sky, there was a river of stars hanging down, causing people to unconsciously sink into it. Qin Shujian was stunned. In the past, when he broke through, such a situation had never happened. Just as he was puzzled, in the river of stars in the sky, endless starlight emerged. Looking carefully, it was a small star. Then, endless starlight gathered together and formed the image of a person. When he saw this person, Qin Shujian's heart shook again, because the person formed by the starlight looked exactly like him. Then, the man stood in the middle of the galaxy. Endless Taoist rhymes flowed around his body. His body turned transparent at this moment. Streams of primordial chaos chi flowed around his body. It looked messy but also orderly. Just as Qin Shujian's attention fell on the other party, the origin-returning ancestral scripture that he cultivated also involuntarily moved at this moment. Regarding this, Qin Shujian didn't care at all. This was because his mind was completely immersed in the Taoist rhymes of the starry figure, as well as the aura flowing within his body. From the outside world, Qin Shujian sat cross-legged. From time to time, the sound of thunder could be heard from his body. There was a faint aura of might. It spread out from his body. The bow of heaven and earth, which had been released to absorb spiritual energy, hid far away. Although the power was very faint, it gave people a kind of unstoppable terror. F***CK. A god martial realm cultivator has such power? It must be fake. The cosmos bow was so shocked that even its body was shaking unsteadily. How could it not know that a god martial realm cultivator was so strong? It was no longer the spiritual artifact in the coiling stone sect that relied on its inherited memories and hadn't seen much of the world. Now, it had followed the origin sect cultivators and killed many god martial realm cultivators. It had even fought with the Monster King. In terms of knowledge, the bow of heaven and earth felt that even among the connate spiritual artifacts, it could be considered as knowledgeable. Although the aura that Qin Shujian emitted was very faint, it was enough to make people's hearts palpitate. It was certain. It was definitely not as simple as just breaking through a small realm. It can't be that he broke through to the diviner realm. For some reason, the bow of heaven and earth had this thought. But soon, it banished this thought from its mind. How could it be possible to break through to the diviner realm? How long had it been since the other party broke through to the god martial realm? The bow of heaven and earth thought for a while. It seemed to be 3 or 4 months, but it also seemed to be 4 or 5 months. Anyway, it was less than half a year. Half a year. From the first level of the god martial realm to the 10th level of the god martial realm, then from the 10th level of the god martial realm to the diviner realm. It knew that this was impossible just by thinking about it. Sect Master must have cultivated some kind of powerful cultivation method. Only when he broke through a small realm can he have such power. But it makes sense. Back then, the Sect Master was able to suppress an expert at the peak of the God Martial Realm with the strength of a beginner in the God Martial Realm. It's normal for him to have such power when breaking through. The bow of heaven and earth quickly figured out the crux of the matter and stopped worrying about it. Anyway, a breakthrough was a breakthrough. The stronger Qin Shujian was, the better its life would be. Its life now was much better than when it was in the Coiling Stone sect. It had abundant spirit chi, and it had a lot of face. As for his former employer, he had long forgotten about the Cosmos Bao. On the other side, the news that Qin Shujian had returned to the sect was known by the entire Origin sect. But the news that he had entered seclusion was only known to a few elders. The sect master is in seclusion again. It seems that his cultivation has broken through again. Su Yuanming sighed. He couldn't help but admire Qin Shujian's talent. In the past, they were all in the basic martial realm. Although there was a gap, it wasn't to the point of despair. But he didn't know when it started. The gap between the two sides grew bigger and bigger. Until now, if he hadn't been blessed by the sect several times, he might not have been able to break through to the real martial realm at this time. On the other hand, he had already broken through to the god martial realm. When the disparity had reached a certain extent, no one would have the thought of comparing themselves. Niu Feng shook his head and said, "If I didn't know that the sect master was the same as us, I would have thought that the sect master was a mutant." It was a well-known fact that mutants could improve their cultivation very quickly. Su Yuanming smiled disdainfully and said, "Even mutants don't improve as fast as the sect master. What's there to compare?" Niu Feng wanted to refute, but he opened his mouth and didn't say anything. Because Su Yuanming was right. It was true that inhumans could improve their cultivation very quickly, but this speed was only relative. Compared to Qin Shujian, the rate at which the inhumans were improving could only be described as average. However, although they were shocked by Qin Shujian's breakthrough speed, now that Qin Shujian had returned, they were relieved. Earlier, a celestial being of the demon clan attacked. Even if they were beaten back by Jiang Feng, they didn't dare to relax. One celestial being of the demon clan could resist, but if there were two celestial beings of the demon clan, the Origin sect would be in danger of being destroyed. Not to mention, above the celestial being of the demon clan, there were demon kings, and above them were demon saints. Now the Origin sect was at the border of the endless mountains. If the demon clan attacked in large numbers, a celestial being wouldn't be able to resist. At this critical moment of life and death, Zhang Feng and the other elders didn't say anything on the surface, but they were under a lot of pressure. Now Qin Shujian had returned. Even if he didn't do anything, it was equivalent to giving them a reassuring pill, although the other party was only in the god martial realm. In the eyes of Jing Feng and the others, the effect was much stronger than Jiang Feng, the Sky Corpse. With the return of Qin Shujian, the other disciples of the Origin sect had also calmed down a lot. After all, although the things that happened some time ago had been settled, the sect was still under martial law. There were rumors that the Demon Clan army was going to attack from time to time. In the face of such things, many disciples felt a lot of pressure in their hearts. It gave them the illusion that a storm was about to come. Fortunately, now that Qin Shujian had returned, they seemed to have found their backbone. In the next few days, the Origin sect was much calmer. There were also some sects that heard the news of Qin Shujian's return and sent people to visit. Unfortunately, they were all rejected by Niu Feng and the other elders. The reason was very good. The sect master was in seclusion and everyone refused to see him. Hence, these people from the various sects either left with regrets or stayed in Cold Mountain City for the time being. It was worth mentioning, now that more and more cultivators were staying in Cold Mountain City, there were also some powerful blacksmiths. With the eyesight of these blacksmiths, they could see that the city was extraordinary. Hence, the news that Cold Mountain City was actually a huge spiritual weapon also spread like wildfire. Casting a city into a spiritual weapon, such a method could be described as shocking. Even the sects and cities owned by other top sects could not reach such a level. Instantly, after the news that Cold Mountain City was a huge spiritual weapon spread, it attracted many blacksmiths to come. After all, this was the work of a grandmaster. If they could comprehend something from it, it would be enough for them to benefit immensely. As for whether there would be trouble as more and more cultivators came, at the beginning, there would be. But now, there was no one who dared to cause trouble in Cold Mountain City, because all the troublemakers had been killed by the Origin sect. Among them were some disciples of top sects or descendants of powerful families. Facing these people, the Origin sect did not hold back at all. Such an iron-blooded method naturally intimidated everyone. The other party did not even give face to the top sections. Who would think that their face was greater than those top sects? Hints. After a few bloody baptisms, these people had learned their lesson. On the other hand, the Sky Origin sect's control over Cold Mountain City was very lax, except for the area of maintaining order. This gave these people a lot of freedom. Anyway, to the Origin sect. As long as they paid taxes regularly and did not cause trouble, other things were not a problem. After a few times, things were much simpler after that. On the 5th day of Qin Shujian's seclusion, a familiar person came to Cold Mountain City again and said that he wanted to visit Qin Shujian. In the inherited martial hall, Zhang Fong, as the Great Elder, temporarily took over the duties of the sect master and sat on the left side of the main seat. Opposite him was Wu Lang. Wu Lang. Zhang Fong was no stranger to him. This was the 4th time this imperial envoy had come to the Cold Mountain Spirit Domain. The first 2 times were because of the demons. The 3rd time was because of the war in the imperial court. And now, this was the 4th time. However, compared to the previous few times, Wu Lang's expression was not very good this time. Zhang Fong said, "May I know why the esteemed envoy has come this time? May I ask if Sect Master Qin has returned? I am here on His Majesty's orders. I hope to invite Sect Master Qin to the Central Province to fight against the rebels." Wu Lang squeezed out an ugly smile, cupped his hands, and got straight to the point. The current him. He no longer had the appearance of an imperial envoy. If one did not know his identity, they would think that he was a cultivator from a fallen sect. How difficult this period of time had been. Only Wu Lang himself knew. In the past few months, the situation had changed a lot. From the demons breaking the seal to the death of the West pacifying General Luo Jing, the situation in the Great Zhao had rapidly deteriorated. Later on, the feudal lords came to rescue the emperor and saw a chance to turn the situation around. In the end, Marquis Shichong and Marquis Pingchuan stabbed the imperial court in the back, causing their original advantage to disappear in an instant. That was not all. It was one thing to lose their advantage, but the situation had worsened. Until now, the imperial court's power had been completely suppressed, and the Central Province Prefecture had become a place of war. Xiyang was often angry and was clearly under great pressure. As an official of the Great Zhao, he was so worried that his hair was about to turn white. If the Great Zhao was destroyed, he, Wu Lang, would not have an easy time. As for defecting to the rebels, it was not that Wu Lang had not thought of this before, but as soon as it appeared, he forcefully extinguished it. It was not that he was truly loyal to the imperial court. It was because, even if he defected to the rebels, they might not want him. For Wu Lang, the imperial court absolutely could not be destroyed. Otherwise, he would also be upset. As a result, when he heard that Qin Shujian had returned, he immediately came to Yuanzhong, hoping to invite him to come out of seclusion. After all, Qin Shujian was not weak, especially with his identity as a formation grandmaster. He could be of some use in this kind of war, even if he could not turn the situation around. As long as he could give the Great Zhao an advantage, that would be enough. The current Wu Lang did not dare to have too many extravagant hopes. He only hoped that he could complete Shi Yang's orders and invite Qin Shujian over. It was not just Yuanzhong. The imperial court had also issued the same edict to the other top sections. Unfortunately, there were very few sects that responded. If the imperial court hadn't completely collapsed, everything would have been fine. But now, no sect was willing to get involved. The imperial court was about to be destroyed. In this kind of situation, whoever got involved might be on the wrong side. Once the imperial court was destroyed, all the investments would be lost. So up until now, there were not many helpers that the imperial court could draw to their side. One more diviner, one less diviner. For now, they had a role that could not be ignored. Looking at Wu Lang's expression, Zhang Fong shook his head and said, "I'm afraid that you have come at the wrong time. Although the sect master has returned, he has already entered seclusion. We cannot contact him now." Hearing this, the light in Wu Lang's eyes dimmed a little. But he was still unwilling to give up and asked, "May I ask when Sect Master Qin will come out of seclusion?" "I can't give you an answer about this." Sect Master did not give a time limit before entering seclusion. No one knows if it will be long or short. Then I will wait in Cold Mountain City. If Sect Master Qin comes out of seclusion, I hope that Elder Zhang can inform me immediately. Wu Lang did not want to force him and only said one more sentence. This time, I have come with great sincerity. As long as your sect is willing to help, the Imperial Court will definitely reward you well. After dealing with Yuanzong a few times, he knew Yuanzong's pulse. Yuanzong was a sect that prioritized benefits. As long as they were willing to give benefits, everything was negotiable. This was also the reason why Wu Lang had been staying in Cold Mountain City. Because he was confident. This time, the Imperial Court would definitely reward Yuanzong well. Seeing this, Zhang Fong could not refuse and nodded. If Sect Master comes out of seclusion, I will immediately send someone to inform you. Thank you. Wu Lang relaxed a little, and then got up to leave. His purpose of coming here was to see Qin Shujian. But now that Qin Shujian was in seclusion, there was no need for him to stay. Then, Zhang Fong sent someone to send Wu Lang out of the sect. On the 6th day, Qin Shujian was still sitting there cross-legged without moving. However, the surrounding heaven and earth spirit qi flowed slowly and seemed to have become stagnant. Dong! A thundering sound came from Qin Shujian's body. At the same time, everyone in Yuanzong suddenly felt as if their hearts had stopped beating for a moment. However, they quickly recovered. In the array hall, Xiang Haogan was studying the things that Qin Shujian had left behind. It could be said that this was the foundation of the array hall and everyone's hope of becoming an array master. After joining Yuanzong for 1 or 2 years, he could already feel that the bottleneck of his array Dao that had not moved for a long time was showing signs of loosening. Such a discovery. This made Xiang Haogan extremely happy. Compared to the Dao of cultivation, he preferred the Dao of formations. After being stuck as an upper-tier array master for so many years, now that he saw the hope of breaking through, it was naturally difficult for him to calm down. Moreover, once he broke through to the array master level, he would have the battle strength equivalent to the divine martial realm. For Xiang Haogan, once both his realm and array Dao reached the divine martial realm, his strength would rise to another level. Dong! A sound that sounded like thunder and drums could be heard. Xiang Haogan's expression changed greatly. The sound just now made his heart beat half a beat slower, and he could not concentrate at all. What happened? Xiang Haogan was bewildered. At this moment, Dong! Another voice rang out, causing his mind to be unable to calm down at all, let alone comprehend the formation. Forced by this, Xiang Haogan had to walk out of the array hall and go directly outside. At this moment, the other disciples of Yuanzong who were in seclusion also came out of their state of cultivation. What happened? I was about to break through to the 8th level of the true martial realm, but it was suddenly interrupted. Isn't the cultivation room 100% safe for cultivation? What's going on now? Return the contribution points. We must return the contribution points. Within the sect, many people were complaining about this. Some people who cultivated normally were fine, but some disciples who spent contribution points to enter the cultivation room to cultivate were a little uncomfortable at this moment. The contribution points were spent. As a result, they were forced out of the cultivation room after cultivating for a short time. To this, the outer sect elder who was in charge of the cultivation room also had a dark expression on his face. What's the rush? Do you think the sect would cheat you of such a small amount of contribution points? All of you better behave yourselves. If anyone dares to speak nonsense, be careful of the sect's rules. As soon as he finished speaking, many disciples who complained shut their mouths. It was okay to talk fast, but if they were really punished by the sect's rules, they would be wronged. After the outer elder glanced at these people, a look of bewilderment flashed across his eyes. What happened? To be honest, he himself did not know. The cultivation room was protected by the array Dao, and some ordinary movements could not affect the inside at all. But this sound seemed to be able to penetrate all the barriers and hit the deepest part of people's hearts. No matter how they tried to stop it, it did not work at all. For a moment, people in the sect were restless. On the other side, Zhang Fong, Su Yuanming, and the others were also shocked and confused. The others were dumbfounded. They also did not understand. Great Elder, do you know what's going on? Zhang Tiniu looked at Zhang Fong. The others did the same. When it came to seniority, at this time, they had to ask the great elder. Hearing this, Zhang Fang smiled bitterly and shook his head. I don't know anything either. I can't find the source of this sound. Could it be caused by the sect master's closed-door cultivation? It's not impossible. After Niu Feng's reminder, the others also reacted. Now, in the Yuan sect, the only person who could cause such a movement was Qin Shujian. Every time the sect master cultivated, he would cause some movement. But just like now, this was the first time they had encountered it. At this moment, a stream of light shot down from the peak of Mount Liang. Soon, the stream of light dissipated and the cosmos bow appeared in their line of sight. It's too hard. It's really too hard. As soon as the cosmos bow appeared, it seemed to be relieved. Seeing this, they looked at each other. In the end, Niu Feng asked, Qian, Elder Qian, do you know what happened? As a doctrine artifact, the cosmos bow was more like an elder. Niu Feng did not want to be too rude in front of this doctrine artifact. What else can happen? He's definitely not breaking through a small realm of the god martial arts. How can a god martial arts realm cultivator have such power? Damn it. I suspect he's breaking through to the celestial being realm. As soon as Niu Feng finished speaking, the cosmos bow cursed. During this time, it stayed in the forbidden area. At first, it was okay. Although Qin Shujian's breakthrough was powerful, it could withstand it as long as it stayed far away. But slowly, this power was getting stronger and stronger. Even it couldn't withstand the sound of the thunder and lightning. Under the pressure, the cosmos bow had to escape. Only then was it free. Until now, it no longer believed that Qin Shujian just made a small breakthrough to the god martial arts realm. No matter how powerful a breakthrough to the god martial arts realm was, it could not be so powerful. It thought for a long time. Only a breakthrough to the celestial being realm could bring about such power. As for the others, after hearing the cosmos bow's words, they all stood rooted to the ground with astonishment on their faces. A breakthrough to the celestial being realm. Wasn't this a little too fast? No, this was no longer something that could be described as fast. For a moment, Zhang Fang and the others were all shocked. They could not calm down for a long time. Niu Feng asked in disbelief, Elder Qian, is Sect Master really going to break through to the celestial being realm? But he just broke through to the god martial arts realm. Haha, you ask me? Who should I ask? The Cosmos Bao replied with a ha-ha. It did not want to answer this question anymore. Chapter 470. Soon, Zheng Fang came out and explained that this was a phenomenon caused by the sect master's closed-door cultivation. He told everyone not to worry too much. At this point, this matter finally stopped. If it was Qin Shujian who was cultivating, in that case, there was nothing strange about this strange phenomenon. The thunder-like sound lasted for an entire day before it gradually quieted down. On the seventh day, the clouds in the sky changed color. The red clouds in the blue sky shone for 3,000 miles, attracting everyone's attention. On the eighth day, the waves surged endlessly. On the ninth day, a huge shadow crossed the void, covering the sky and the sun. Its specific appearance could not be seen. It was as if an ancient aura was recovering step by step, sweeping across the world. At this moment, this phenomenon was no longer limited to the Yuan sect. Even the entire Liang Mountain spiritual region and other regions could faintly feel it. In the endless mountain range, many beasts fled in panic. With the beasts' perception of seeking fortune and avoiding disaster, they seemed to be able to sense a destructive disaster. Lion Tiger Plain, Demon Ox Cave. Niu Dali was lying there, looking weak. How much longer? It's been a few days. Why hasn't it ended yet? He was very tired. Ever since the phenomenon appeared, he had not slept for a few days. When that power swept across, it could shake one's mind and make one unable to calm down, let alone sleep. For the sleepy Niu Dali, he could not sleep. It was worse than killing him. In Liang Mountain City, now, a large number of experts had come through the teleportation gate. In the past few days, the phenomenon of the Yuan sect had already spread throughout the Baiyun mansion. Many experts came because of the fame and wanted to see what was going on. At this moment, the Traceless sect's elder, Su Yuan, was sitting in a tea house with an old man. Like an ordinary person, he ordered a pot of tea and some food. Supreme Elder, please have some tea. Su Yuan respectfully poured a cup of tea for the old man and then sat upright. He did not dare to underestimate the old man at all. They were both in the divine martial realm. Grand Elder Bansheng was an expert who had reached the peak of the divine martial realm 1,000 years ago. He was also the true foundation of the Traceless sect. Bansheng didn't move. He shook his head and said, "No need." According to Grand Elder's opinion, exactly what is the reason for the abnormal sign and origin sect? Su Yuan did not dare to force the issue. Thus, he changed the topic and asked. This time, he had come to Cold Mountain City again. Firstly, it was because of Qin Shujian's return. Secondly, it was because of this phenomenon. As for Bansheng, he had come purely for the latter. When Bansheng heard this, he pondered for a while before softly spitting out 2 words, celestial being. What? Su Yuan turned pale with fright. Celestial beings. Could it be that Qin Shujian was about to break through to the Deva realm? If he remembered correctly, the other party had just broken through to the God Martial realm not long ago. Since the ancient times, when celestials appeared, there would always be many irregular scenes. There was once a great sun that covered the sky, illuminating the heavens and earth, continuing for many days without scattering. There were also stellar rivers that descended, cleansing the world. Bansheng's eyes were filled with envy, yearning, and longing. Although every celestial has a different phenomenon when they are born, there is no doubt that this is caused by an expert breaking through to the Deva realm. Celestial being. He had bitterly pursued this realm for 1,000 years, but he still couldn't break through this hurdle. The peak of the God Martial realm had a lifespan of 3,000 years. 3,000 years was a very long time, but there would be a day when it would be exhausted. For Bansheng, it took him 700 years to step onto the path of cultivation and break through to the God Martial realm. Then, it took him 1,000 years to reach the peak of the God Martial realm from the first tier of the God Martial realm. Since he had stopped at the peak of the God Martial realm, another 1,000 years had passed. He had already used more than 2,700 years of his lifespan of 3,000 years. Until now, although the spirit god had not declined, the qi and blood in her body had gradually calmed down. In the remaining 200 years or so, if she couldn't find a way to break through to the Deva realm, then this expert at the peak of the God Martial realm could only quietly die. For Bansheng, he had been in the cultivation world for more than 2,700 years. Naturally, he was unwilling to die like this, but the difficulty of breaking through to the Deva realm was simply too great. Although he had been deducing the Traceless sect's legacy cultivation method over the years, gradually deriving a path to the Deva realm. But the deduction was ultimately not perfect. And even if there was a cultivation method to the Deva realm, it didn't mean that he could break through. Or else, Bansheng wouldn't have been trapped at the peak of the God Martial realm for 1,000 years. When he had heard about the Sky Origin Sect's phenomenon, he had thought that it might have been caused by the birth of a Deva realm expert. Now that he had seen it, he was certain. At the peak of Mount Liang, Qin Shujian's aura had now condensed to its peak. The surrounding space and qi had become stagnant. You have successfully broken through the limit of the Deva realm's high-grade cultivation method, the Guiyuan Ancestral Codex. You have obtained the Deva realm's cultivation method, the Guiyuan Ancestral Codex. You are currently at the 41st stage of the Deva realm's cultivation method, the Guiyuan Ancestral Codex. The system's notification came as expected. Qin Shujian abruptly opened his eyes. A beam of light pierced through the sky, and all the strange phenomena dissipated. This is a Deva realm expert, Qin Shujian murmured. Then, he calmed his mind and began to observe the changes in his body. He saw that the inside of his body was as bright as a galaxy. Every closed acupoint had been opened, turning into a star. His qi and blood had transformed. It was like a galaxy quietly flowing between the stars. As for the so-called muscles, bones, and veins, they had completely disappeared. His entire body had become chaotic. The spiritual spirit that originally only existed in the sea of consciousness. At this time, It had broken free from the shackles of the sea of consciousness and merged with the body. When the spiritual spirit was strong, the body was limitless. When the body was strong, the spiritual spirit was limitless. Lay the foundation for martial arts and temper the body. True martial realm cultivates chi and condenses vital essence. Spiritual martial realm cultivates the spiritual spirit and gives birth to the spiritual spirit. Divine martial realm actually belongs to the spiritual refinement realm. It's just turning the yin spirit into the yang spirit and completely deducing the word deva to the peak. A deva realm expert combines the essence, chi, and spirit, breaking the shackles of the mortal body and stepping into the transcendent realm in one fell swoop. In Qin Shujian's mind, the information about the deva realm flashed through his mind one by one. In the past, the so-called transcendent realm was only relative to a certain level. In fact, the real transcendent realm, breaking through to the deva realm, was the first step. Therefore, the deva realm was divided into 3 realms, namely transcendent, saint, and almighty. The first realm of the deva realm was called the transcendent realm. The first level of the deva realm, transcendental, and lifespan of 5,000 years. Qin Shujian felt the vast power surging in his body, and a smile appeared on his face. A lifespan of 5,000 years. Compared to the 3,000 years at the peak of the divine martial realm, it was nearly twice as long. Such a span. It was far from what other realms could compare to. Not to mention, after a cultivator broke the shackles of the mortal body, his strength also changed dramatically. If the original body had a limit, then breaking through to the deva realm was breaking this shackle. From then on, his strength was infinite, and there were no more shackles. The fusion of soul and body is only the beginning. It has not reached a perfect state. The first 3 levels of the deva realm are mainly based on this. When I reach the 4th level of the deva realm, I can gradually control the power of heaven and earth. Therefore, I can be called a saint. Qin Shujian took a few deep breaths and then focused on his attributes panel. Name: Qin Shujian. Title: Cold Mountain Region Lord. Identity: Yuan Sect Leader. Affiliation: Yuan Sect. Faction Level: Level 5 Realm. First level of the Deva Realm. Martial Arts, Transcendence Martial Arts. Ancestral Scripture, 41st level. Astral Manifestation, Level 11. Impenetrable, Red Lotus of Purgation, Level 11. Martial Arts. 5 Elements, 8 Trigram Steps, Taoist. 7-Leaf Flower Piercing Palm, Taoist. Golden Immortal Soul Shattering Chant, Greater Heights, Low-Grade Divine Rank. Transcendence Martial Arts. Spirit Severing, 10%, Level 9. Immaculate Indestructible Body, First Tribulation. Lawful Embodiment of Heaven and Earth, First Level, Special Martial Arts. Celestial Light Alchemy Tome, Alchemy Grandmaster. Ancestral Scripture, Forging Grandmaster, Array Grandmaster. Hidden Secret Technique, Level 5, Special Abilities. Dharma Eye, Saber Intent, Sealing Intent. Life Source, 15. 32 million luck points. 31100. His attributes panel had also undergone some changes. First of all, the martial arts column was now blank. Apart from that, there was an additional Transcendence martial arts column under the martial arts column, and the ancestral scripture was there. 3 special traits. Among them, the Red Lotus of Purgation that Qin Shujian was most concerned about had not disappeared. It had only broken through from level 10 to level 11. Also, the ancient immortal body had disappeared and was replaced by the astral manifestation body. Regarding this special trait, Qin Shujian had some understanding of it. The ancestral scripture that had broken through the limit could further develop the body's secrets during cultivation and could open up the acupoints into stars. The strength of the physical body depended on the number of stars opened up. As for the strength of the stars, it depended on the cultivator's foundation. The Level 1 astral manifestation body opened up the most basic 365 acupoints. The acupoints turned into stars. An endless stream of energy would emerge from them, nourishing the cultivator's body, and the cultivator's own energy would be fed back, further strengthening the foundation of the astral acupoints. The two complemented each other. Under such circumstances, as long as there was sufficient spiritual chi of heaven and earth, one could slowly improve their strength even if they did not cultivate. However, The speed of the improvement was very slow and far less practical than cultivating on one's own. After all, the first level of the celestial being had a lifespan of 5,000 years. Although it was long, there was no immortality. In this way, one would still have to cultivate, and it was almost an extravagant hope to rely on automatic advancement. But even so, Qin Shujian was satisfied. The first level of the celestial being. Now I can be considered to have entered the ranks of the top cultivators. But unfortunately, after breaking through to the celestial being level, the bonus from the sect and the title of domain lord have disappeared. Regarding this change, he could more or less understand it. Whether it was the bonus from the sect or the title of domain lord, they could not actually allow one to break through to the next level. They could only increase the total amount of true essence for cultivators below the celestial being level. If the shackles of the physical body were not broken, then there was a limit to the total amount of true essence. But after breaking through the shackles of the physical body and officially advancing to the transcendent being level, the physical body had already evolved endlessly. In Qin Shujian's opinion, this should be beyond the limits of these bonuses. From the previous bonuses that could not allow one to break through to the next level, he knew that there was a limit to this kind of bonus. Now that it was gone, it would be a lie to say that he did not regret it. But for Qin Shujian, since it was gone, then it was gone. Breaking through to the celestial being level was more practical than any other bonuses. Then, Qin Shujian got up, and the power spreading from his body suddenly retracted. The spiritual qi that was originally stagnant suddenly loosened and slowly flowed again. Then, with just a thought, the 27 square formation discs around him were all taken back. Now that the spiritual spirit had merged with the physical body, there was no such thing as how many feet it was. But if one had to make a comparison, one could see a little difference. Before the breakthrough, Qin Shujian's spiritual spirit was about 6,000 feet. Now that he had broken through, his spiritual spirit was about 20,000 feet. One had to know. A spiritual spirit of 7,000 feet suppressed a spiritual spirit of 6,000 feet. As for 20,000 feet, they were on two different levels. In Liangshan City, when the strange phenomenon disappeared, In Yurong suddenly stood up. He walked out of the tea house and said, Qin Shujian has broken through successfully. Let's go and pay a visit to this celestial being. Even now, he was still a little absent-minded. He had broken through successfully? It should be. The strange phenomenon had lasted for so many days before disappearing. If he had failed, he would have failed long ago. Why would he have waited until now? Therefore, in Banqing's opinion, the other party should have succeeded. Especially now, where the origin sect was, that indistinct vast aura was spreading. Only a celestial being could possess it. A celestial being could suppress an area. A celestial being who had not broken through was ultimately just an ant. Even if they could survive in the true dominion and the ordinary dominion, the real stage was still in the spirit dominion and the big dominion. To go to these places, one had to be prepared to face a celestial being. Standing where he was, Su Yuan was stunned for a moment. However, he quickly came back to his senses. He took out an ingot of silver and placed it on the table. Then, he immediately followed Banqing and headed toward Liangshan. There were many people in Liangshan City who did the same thing as Banqing. Not everyone could guess that Qin Shujian was breaking through to the celestial being realm. After all, this was too shocking. If the other party had broken through to the peak divine martial realm many years ago, it would be easy to guess. However, Qin Shujian had only broken through to the divine martial realm a few months ago. Therefore, not many people would connect this to the celestial being realm. Only an experienced and knowledgeable person like Banqing would be able to link it to this matter. At the origin sect, all the strange phenomena disappeared. Zheng Fang and the others had been waiting outside for a long time. When Qin Shujian came down from the forbidden area, they happened to meet him. When they saw Qin Shujian, they were all stunned. If they had not looked with their eyes, they would not have been able to sense that someone was approaching. When they met Qin Shujian's eyes, they felt a great pressure. They also felt a great pressure, which made it difficult for them to breathe. Suppressing the shock in their hearts, Zheng Fang and the others cupped their hands and said, Sect Master, Yes, we're all gathered here. What happened? Sect Master, did you break through to the celestial being realm? Niu Feng asked first. At this time, the others also pricked up their ears, ready to listen to Qin Shujian's answer. Hearing this, Qin Shujian smiled and nodded. I broke through to the celestial being realm by luck. Boom! Niu Feng and the others felt a roar in their minds. Their expressions changed several times, and even their breathing became a little hurried. Celestial being. He really broke through to the celestial being realm. Although they had heard from the bow of heaven and earth and combined it with the strange phenomena before, they had some guesses. However, guesses were just guesses. When Qin Shujian really admitted it, it still caused a great shock. Niu Feng gulped and said with difficulty, Sect Master, can you let us see what a celestial being realm is? The celestial being realm was too far away for him. A few years ago, he was just a bandit leader in the martial arts stage 5. Now, he was facing a celestial being. To be honest, Niu Feng's shock was no less than that of the others. Qin Shujian looked a little hesitant. He looked at the others and asked, Do all of you have the same idea? Sect Master, please let us broaden our horizons. Zhang Feng and the others also replied in unison. To have the opportunity to see a celestial being's means was something that they could only dream of. If they could learn something from Qin Shujian, it might be useful for their own cultivation. All right, I'll let you see it. Qin Shujian did not refuse. He stood there for a while. The others also looked at him attentively, afraid that they would miss something. The next moment, the 365-star acupoints in his body vibrated at the same time. Vast power turned into a surging star river. At the same time, a supreme power erupted from his body. Thump, thump. Whether it was Zhang Feng, Niu Feng, or the others, they all fell to their knees with a thump. They knelt neatly and meticulously. Sect Master, please retract your divine power, Niu Feng said with difficulty. His face was full of fear and shock. When Qin Shujian retracted his power, they felt their bodies relax and then stood up from the ground. At this moment, no one wanted to see a celestial being's means anymore. At such a close distance, they could not even resist his aura, let alone other things. When they besieged the heavenly corpse sect, Lin Gumming, the celestial being, did not attack them. Qin Shujian stopped him the whole time. Therefore, they did not know how strong a celestial being was. But now, they were facing Qin Shujian's power. They finally understood. The celestial being and those below it were two extremes. Niu Feng said in admiration, Sect Master, you've broken through to the celestial being realm. When you rule the cultivation world, you'll definitely defeat all your enemies. He did not ask Qin Shujian how he broke through so quickly, because there was no need to ask this question. No matter how the other party did it, he was now a celestial being. Just this point alone was enough. Outside Mount Liang, Yin Banqing and Su Yuan, who were about to hand in the visiting cards, suddenly felt a vast power erupting from the Yuan sect. Yin Banqing was fine, but Su Yuan's heart was beating wildly, as if he had encountered a terrifying existence. This is the power of a celestial being. Su Yuan's face was filled with horror. He realized that he had been shocked too many times in the past few days. Yin Banqing sighed and said, Who else can have such power except for a celestial being? Then, under Qin Wantian's gaze, Su Yuan handed a visiting card to the guarding disciple of Yuan sect and said politely, Traceless sect's supreme elder Yin Banqing and elder Su Yuan are here to pay their respects to sect master Qin. I hope you can inform him. The shocked disciple immediately came back to his senses. After receiving the visiting card, he also replied politely, Please wait for a moment. I'll go and inform him right away. After saying that, he turned and left. Traceless sect was a large sect in a large region. The name of the supreme elder Yin Banqing was also well known in the cultivation world of Baiyun Mansion. Therefore, this Yuan sect disciple did not dare to be negligent. Inside the Chengwu Hall, Qin Shujian, who had just broken through, was sitting on the main seat. There was a mysterious meaning in his every move. Below, Yin Banqing's posture changed from that of an old man just now. The moment he saw Qin Shujian, He cupped his fists and bowed, his voice booming like a bell. Traceless sects, Yin Banching greets Sect Master Qin. Traceless sects, Su Yuan greets Sect Master Qin. Su Yuan did not dare to be negligent. Both of you, please have a seat. Thank you, Sect Master Qin. After the two of them sat down, Qin Shujian slowly sized up Yin Banching. He had heard of the Supreme Elder of the Traceless sect, a famous expert in the Baiyun Mansion. However, Yuan's sect rarely interacted with other sections. Therefore, he had only heard of Yin Banqing's name and had never met him in person. Peak of the divine martial realm. Unfortunately, his vitality has declined. Even if the spiritual god is still strong, it's not easy to break through to the celestial being realm. With just a few glances, Qin Shujian saw a lot of things. As for Yin Banqing, he did not know that he had been seen through by Qin Shujian. After he sat down, he immediately cupped his hands and asked, I saw that Sect Master Qin's breakthrough had ended, so I came to visit. I'd like to take the liberty to ask if Sect Master Qin has broken through to the celestial being realm? When he asked the question, Yin Banqing looked at Qin Shujian with bright eyes. Qin Shujian nodded and said, I broke through by luck. An answer. Yin Banqing's expression changed. Then, he sighed and said, in the cultivation world of Baiyun Mansion, there hasn't been a celestial being for thousands of years. Now that Sect Master Qin has broken through, you've broken the record of Baiyun Mansion. From now on, with Sect Master Qin in the cultivation world of Baiyun Mansion, we'll definitely be able to compete with other manners in the future. Elder Yin, you flatter me. I'm just lucky to break through to the celestial being realm. Compared to other celestial beings, I'm still far behind. Sect Master Qin, you're too modest. Yin Banqing naturally would not take his words seriously. After breaking through to the divine martial realm for a few months, Qin Shujian had become a celestial being. Who could guarantee that Qin Shujian's cultivation would not go further and reach another level in the next few years? Thinking of this, he also secretly sighed. The reincarnation of a mighty figure was indeed terrifying. Now, Yin Banqing was sure that Qin Shujian was definitely not the reincarnation of an ordinary mighty figure. There had been reincarnations of mighty figures in history, but it was the first time he had met one as terrifying as Qin Shujian. In his opinion, before Qin Shujian was reincarnated, he was very likely to be a supreme mighty figure. However, these were all Yin Banqing's guesses. There was no real evidence, but he was sure of one thing. Qin Shujian would definitely not stop at the first tier of the celestial being realm. Now that Qin Shujian had broken through, there were not many people in the world who could keep him in check. From now on, he would be able to fly high in the sky and fish in the sea. Chapter 471. After a few simple greetings and compliments, Yin Banqing finally got to the point. I have one thing I want to ask. I wonder if Sect Master Qin is willing to enlighten me? What is it? May I ask Sect Master Qin, what is a celestial being? Qin Shujian replied lightly, above the divine martial realm is the celestial being. Yin Banqing was about to answer, but at this time, he choked. What was a celestial being? Above the divine martial realm was the celestial being. There didn't seem to be any problem with this answer. Even if he wanted to refute it, he didn't know where to start. Yin Banqing didn't believe that Qin Shujian didn't know what he meant, but the other party's answer clearly showed that he wanted to evade the question. Normally speaking, at this time, the topic should be stopped. But the celestial being realm had been Yin Banqing's obsession for 1,000 years. It wasn't easy to meet a celestial being, so how could he let go of such an opportunity? Sect Master Qin, what I want to ask is, how can I break through to the celestial being realm? This question makes this Qin feel embarrassed. The smile on Qin Shujian's face faded a little. He tapped his fingers on the armrest and didn't answer the question directly. At this time, Yin Banqing suddenly stood up, bowed deeply, and said solemnly, I know this question makes Sect Master Qin feel embarrassed, but I've been stuck at the peak of the divine martial realm for 1,000 years. I don't have much time left. If Sect Master Qin can give me a few pointers, the Traceless sect will definitely reward you generously. What price can the Traceless sect pay? Qin Shujian's expression also turned serious. If there was a reward, then everything would be fine. Anyway, the method to break through to the celestial being realm wasn't a secret to other celestials. Although not many people knew this news, it definitely wasn't a small number. But knowing was one thing, and being able to break through was another. If a piece of information could be exchanged for benefits, he wouldn't refuse. Banching said, Sect Master Qin, as long as it's not something difficult, the Traceless sect will agree. How many properties does the Traceless sect have? How much are they worth? This, Banching hesitated for a moment, and then looked at Su Yuan, who was at the side. Seeing this, Su Yuan immediately understood. He cupped his hands and said, My Traceless sect has a lot of properties now. If converted into silver taels, it should be around 2 billion silver taels. 2 billion. Qin Shujian's smile widened as he looked at the two of them and said slowly, This Qin won't beat around the bush. If the Traceless sect can take out 500 million silver taels, then I will tell you the secret of how to break through to the celestial realm. I do. It's a resource worth 500 million taels of silver. As for cash, there's no need for that. There were quite a few in the Silver Essence sect. What they needed now was cash to buy resources. At present, the flames of war were everywhere. War was the place that consumed the most resources. Many things in the market had been bought by the various feudal lords and the imperial court, causing it to be somewhat difficult for Yuan Zong to purchase some things recently. Banching nodded without hesitation. Traceless sect agrees to this matter. The resources worth 500 million taels of silver were important. But for him now, the chance to break through to the diviner level was more important. As long as he could break through to the diviner level, he would not hesitate to pay any price. Or else, when his lifespan ended, the Traceless sect would lack a powerhouse at the peak of the divine martial realm. Their strength would definitely decline a lot. At that time, when the various sects swallowed them up, their losses might not be less than this. Banching agreed readily, and Qin Shujian's answer was equally straightforward. But there's one thing that this Qin will say first. I will only tell you how to break through to the diviner level. Without my permission, you are not allowed to pass it on to others. Otherwise, at this point, a vast and surging aura spread out from his body, causing Banching and Su Yuan's expressions to change dramatically. I can guarantee that no one in the world can protect the Traceless sect. This aura was so vast that even Banching felt a little breathless. Although he had reached the peak of the divine martial realm, this was the first time he faced a diviner at such a close distance. He had heard of Qin Shujian's threat. Banching took a deep breath and then solemnly replied, Sect Master Qin, you can rest assured that no one will know about this matter whether I break through to the diviner level or not. Okay. Qin Shujian nodded. Then he got up and walked out of the hall. If there's nothing else, you can come with me. As for the resources, prepare them as soon as possible. I don't like to delay things for too long. Su Yuan, go back and prepare the resources, then send them to Sect Master Qin. Understood. Su Yuan replied in awe. He didn't refuse Banching's approach. If the other party could break through to the diviner level, it would be of great benefit to the entire Traceless sect. After giving some instructions, Su Yuan immediately got up and left. As for Banching, he followed behind Qin Shujian and left the Chengwu Hall. Walking in the Yuan sect, Banching was always half ahead behind Qin Shujian. He didn't have the aura of a supreme elder of the Traceless sect at all. Instead, he was like a student, following behind his teacher. There was no seniority in learning. The one who learned was the teacher. Moreover, in Banching's mind, Qin Shujian was the reincarnation of a peak almighty expert. In terms of real age, the other party was probably a few streets ahead of him. In addition, he was now a diviner. Therefore, Banching didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. When he opened the gate of the courtyard, a strong wave of spirit energy rushed out. Since the last time he left the sect, Qin Shujian hadn't returned for several months. The osmanthus tree in the courtyard had grown more luxuriant at this time. The osmanthus flowers on the branches and leaves were in full bloom, exuding a refreshing fragrance. Sensing Qin Shujian's return, the osmanthus tree's branches and leaves were swaying non-stop. When Banching walked into the courtyard, he was also attracted by this spirit plant. This tree's spirituality has already been born. Its achievements in the future will be extraordinary. Yuan's sect really has a deep foundation. It's admirable. This praise, in Banqing, wasn't purely flattering. It was easy to cultivate spirit plants, but it was another matter to give birth to spirituality. As long as all living things in the world gave birth to spirituality, they would have a chance to step on the path of cultivation. Spirit plants had a long lifespan, much longer than ordinary demons. As long as Yuan's sect's spirit plant was properly cultivated, after 1,000 years, there would be another powerful cultivator. Eldarine, please take a seat. Qin Shujian's sleeves fluttered, and the fine dust on the stone table flew in. Banqing sat down as he was told. It's actually very simple to break through to the diviner realm. Qin Shujian looked at him, thought for a moment, and then said, rudimentary martial arts lays the foundation. True martial arts cultivates qi. Spiritual martial arts cultivates yin spirit, and divine martial arts cultivates yang spirit. At this moment, Banqing's expression was already solemn, and he was listening attentively. How to break through to the diviner realm. This could be considered a different kind of preaching. The Traceless sect had spent 500 million taels of silver to get this opportunity, so they naturally wouldn't waste it. In the following period of time, Qin Shujian briefly explained the method to break through to the diviner realm, and then also talked about his own enlightenment. After all, with 500 million taels of resources in hand, it was impossible to simply say that one could break through to the diviner realm by combining essence, qi, and spirit. In that case, Banqing would probably fight with him to the death. Until now, Qin Shujian also hoped that the cultivation world of the Baiyun Mansion could be stronger. Although Yuan's sect was the dominant force at the moment, the situation was good. But according to the current development of the situation, sooner or later, they would have to go to war with the demon clan. The cultivation world of the Baiyun Mansion was weak. If Yuan's sect was alone, it would be difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. Under such circumstances, it would be a good thing for Qin Shujian if he could have more helpers. The most important thing was, even if other sects produced diviners, he was confident that he could suppress them. This was the real reason. If Qin Shujian wasn't confident in suppressing them, he wouldn't have preached to Banqing so easily. Not to mention 500 million taels of silver, even if it was doubled, it would still be the same. After preaching for a while, 2 hours passed in a flash. In the end, Qin Shujian looked at Banqing, shook his head and said, to be honest, to break through to the diviner realm, your essence, qi, and spirit must be in peak condition. Although your spirit god is strong now, your qi and blood are declining. Even if you know how to break through, the success rate is not high. If you fail to break through by force, your qi and blood will be depleted, and your lifespan may be reduced. In my opinion, you'd better not break through by force. He could see that Banqing was eager to break through, but in his state, these words were really just to scare him. Banqing said with a wry smile, I understand what sect leader Qin said, but I've been at the peak of the divine martial arts realm for thousands of years. Now that I have a chance, I can't die in peace if I don't give it a try. And I don't have much lifespan left. Even if I don't break through by force, I can only live for another 100 or 200 years. What's the use? That's true. Qin Shujian nodded slightly, then changed the topic and said with a faint smile, but it's not completely impossible. You can find a chance to make up for your qi and blood. Sect leader Qin, what do you mean? Have you heard of the cultivation pill? The cultivation pill? Banqing murmured, then asked in surprise, Sect leader Qin, are you talking about the cultivation pill that can reverse the Khanate heavens? The 9th level pill, the cultivation pill. With his status, he had naturally heard of it. It was just that there were too many pills in the world. If Qin Shujian hadn't mentioned it, he wouldn't have remembered it for a while. In response to Banqing's question, Qin Shujian nodded and said with a smile, yes, it's the cultivation pill that can reverse the Khanate heavens. Your qi and blood are declining. If you want to break through to the diviner realm, you must rejuvenate your qi and blood. Only by reversing the effects of the Khanate heavens can you do this. Otherwise, your breakthrough will definitely fail. Banqing looked troubled and sighed. It's very difficult to obtain the cultivation pill. Even an ordinary alchemy grandmaster may not be able to refine it. With the strength of the traceless sect, it wouldn't be easy to collect the cultivation pill. Qin Shujian faintly smiled. Perhaps I have a way to deal with the revival good fortune pill. But you should also know that there are strong and weak ninth-step pills. The revival good fortune pill reverses the Xiantian realm and is at the peak. If you want to get the cultivation pill, the price is not low at all. Is sect leader Qin serious? Yin Banqing's hands, which were hidden in his sleeves, suddenly clenched. He could no longer keep calm as he looked at Qin Shujian. If Qin Shujian didn't lie to him, then, if he got the cultivation pill, he had at least a 50% chance of breaking through to the diviner realm. Although a 50% chance was low, it was actually very high. Ordinary people had at most a 20% chance of breaking through to the diviner realm, or even lower. Yin Banqing could achieve this because he had been at the peak of the divine martial realm for thousands of years. During this period, he had explored the path to the diviner realm countless times. Finally, he heard Qin Shujian's preaching and verified himself. Even if there was a 50% chance, there was still a 50% chance of failure. But for Yin Banqing, 50%, it was enough. Not to mention 50%, even if he had a 30% chance, he would still try. Once he broke through to the diviner realm, the problem of his lifespan would be solved. As for the price, even if he had to empty the entire traceless sect, he would not hesitate. The cultivation pill is not a problem. Qin Shujian skillfully boiled the water with his vital essence. Then, with a thought, he took 2 osmanthus flowers from the branches and leaves and brewed them. Suddenly, a fragrance filled the air. Without seeing him do anything, one of the cups of tea automatically moved in front of Yin Banqing. Then, he picked up the cup in front of him and took a sip. But the cultivation pill is the creation of heaven and earth. It is not something that can be bought with money. If the traceless sect can take out 20 spirit stones, I can get the cultivation pill. 20 spirit stones. Yin Banqing's hand trembled again. This was not a small number. Combined with the original 500 million taels of resources, it was almost half of the traceless sect. But, compared to the temptation of breaking through to the diviner realm, this price was still within his acceptable range. Then, Yin Banqing looked straight at Qin Shujian and asked in a deep voice, "Sect Master Qin, are you serious?" "I'm not joking." "Okay, but I want to make one last deal with Sect Master Qin." "What deal?" "I want to take a look at your divine connection technique." After saying that, a murderous intent that seemed to have condensed into a substance instantly locked onto him. Qin Shujian put down the teacup in his hand, looked at Yin Banqing indifferently, and said coldly, "Elder Yin, I have been giving you a chance because of your face. Don't push your luck. You must know that a man who is not content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant." Looking at the divine connection technique, only he could say that. A divinity cultivation method was the lifeline of a top sect. If it could be casually shown to others, then the sect would not be far from destruction. Seeing this, Yin Banqing also realized that he had misspoken and hurriedly explained, "Sect Master Qin, please don't misunderstand. I just want to take a look at the Heavenly Corpse sect's divine connection technique. I have no intention of coveting your sect's inheritance." The Heavenly Corpse sect's divine connection technique is now in the Yuan Pavilion. If Elder Yin is interested, you can go to the Yuan Pavilion to exchange for it. Qin Shujian mercilessly refused. Diviner Realm Enlightenment and Fortune Pill. Although these were all exchanged with money, if Sect Master Qin did not give them, they would not be able to get them even if they had money. Not only did he give so many benefits, he also wanted to take a look at the divine connection technique. All of a sudden, a thought emerged in Qin Shujian's mind. This should be the legendary dragon. "Sect Master Qin, what price do I have to pay to take a look at the divine connection technique?" Yin Banqing did not know what the other party was thinking and asked bluntly, "Price?" Qin Shujian sneered. "The price of the divine connection technique is not something your traceless sect can afford." Speaking of this, he paused for a moment and continued, "Elder Yin, I have already said this much. I don't think I need to say more. I have already given you the diviner realm enlightenment and fortune pill. The divine connection technique is in the Yuan Pavilion. If the Traceless sect has the ability, you can go in exchange for it. But if you want to get it from me, you have made the wrong decision. I was rude. Banching sighed and gave up on the idea of getting the divine connection technique from Qin Shujian, although he had already deduced most of the Traceless sect's legacy techniques. But if he could verify them with the divine connection technique, the speed would undoubtedly be much faster, and it would also save him some detours. But looking at Qin Shujian's current stance, this path was obviously not going to work. Next, he wanted to get the divine connection technique. He could either exchange for it through the Yuan Pavilion or slowly deduce it himself. Not long after, Banching got up and said goodbye. Qin Shujian had only promised him one thing about the revival fortune pill, and that was that he would get it within 3 years. But the specific time would have to depend on the situation. After sending Banching away, Qin Shujian didn't even have time to catch his breath before someone else came to visit. In the same courtyard, the difference was that the person sitting opposite him was no longer Banching. Sect Master Qin, please save me. Looking at Wu Lang, who had just sat down and revealed a mournful expression, Qin Shujian was a little speechless. Esteemed envoy, let's talk nicely. He immediately asked for help. To be honest, this was the first time he had met such a person. At this time, after seeing Qin Shujian, Wu Lang seemed to have seen his savior, especially when he learned that Qin Shujian had broken through to the celestial realm. His first reaction was not shock but surprise. He had broken through to the celestial realm and was also an array grandmaster. With the combination of the two, Qin Shujian's strength was more than a level higher than the average expert who had just entered the celestial realm. For Wu Lang, the stronger Qin Shujian was, the better. It would be better if he broke through to the almighty realm on the spot. That would be more appropriate. Of course, he only thought about this in his heart and did not say it out loud. Sect Master Qin, you may not know this, but now that all the feudal lords have rebelled and the central state prefecture is surrounded by the army, the imperial court is at the end of its rope. Without external help, I'm afraid that the empire that has been established for thousands of years will have to surrender. Wu Lang's face was full of sorrow, and his expression was as ugly as it could be. Over the past few days in Liangshan City, the bad news in the central state prefecture had been coming one after another. It even gave him the feeling that the imperial court would be destroyed at any time. Even though he was not in the central state prefecture now, he still felt a great deal of pressure. What do you mean, Brother Wu? Qin Shujian frowned and said with a puzzled expression, I've just broken through to the celestial realm. Although Yuan Zhong's strength is not bad, it's not worth mentioning in front of the imperial court. I'm afraid that with or without me, it won't change anything. Sigh, now that we have more help, the imperial court will have a better chance of winning. Although Qin Shujian has just broken through to the celestial realm, he's also a formation grandmaster. If he's willing to help, he can provide a lot of help. I'm afraid that I'll have to disappoint you, Brother Wu. Qin Shujian rejected him without hesitation. Now that the imperial court and the rebels were like fire and water, if they did not have the strength to intervene, they would be torn to pieces in an instant. After breaking through to the celestial realm, he believed that his strength was enough to be ranked among the top. However, there were also high and low ranks among the celestial realm. Qin Shujian would definitely not believe that there were no powerful figures involved in this war. Wu Lang had already expected this. When Qin Shujian rejected the offer, he immediately said, Sect Master Qin, don't be in a hurry to reject it. Since the imperial court has invited you to take action, the reward will definitely not be low. As he spoke, he looked at Qin Shujian's expression and continued. In order to show their sincerity, the imperial court is willing to give you a divine martial arts, a second realm formation grandmaster's comprehension, and 50 spirit stones. And this time, Sect Master Qin has killed 237 demons, a total of 48 spirit stones. The imperial court will also directly give you a round number, plus the reward for helping, a total of 100 spirit stones. I wonder what Sect Master Qin thinks. A divine martial arts, a second realm formation grandmaster's comprehension, 100 spirit stones. The bountiful rewards from the imperial court shook Qin Shujian to the core. He was about to reject the offer, but he hesitated instead. The value of the divine martial arts was needless to say. Although it could not be compared with the divine martial arts, it was still priceless. If he threw it out, it would be enough to make the major sects of the big region scramble for it. As for the second realm formation Grandmaster's comprehension, to be honest, with the opportunity to improve his source of life, this thing was not very useful to him. However, the value of this thing could not be ignored. It could also be seen that the Imperial Court did have a second realm Grandmaster. The last 100 spirit stones were even more irresistible. As for the number of demons that Wu Lang said he had killed, Qin Shujian also understood what was going on. The number of demons that really died in his hands was naturally more than this number. What Wu Lang said was the number of demons he had killed before the Imperial Court terminated the deal. For a moment, Qin Shujian fell silent. Wu Lang, who was sitting on the side, did not persuade him anymore. He had already given the Imperial Court the best conditions that they could give. The rest was up to the other party's choice. If the other party was determined to refuse, Wu Lang had no other way. But in his opinion, the possibility of Qin Shujian refusing was not high. Time passed little by little. After a long time, he looked at Wu Lang and said in a deep voice, "I can help, but there are two conditions that the Imperial Court must agree to. Otherwise, Brother Wu, please go back. Please speak, Sect Master Qin." Qin Shujian stretched out 2 fingers and said, "First, I will only help if it is within my power. If it is not, it is impossible for me to be buried with the Imperial Court. Second, I need to get the thing first. If the Imperial Court can agree to these 2 conditions, then I will have no objections. If the Imperial Court is not willing, then I will not force it." Chapter 472. Hiring him was fine, but it was impossible to spend money to make him work for the Imperial Court. As for the latter, to be honest, Qin Shujian wasn't confident in the Imperial Court. If the Imperial Court was destroyed, he might not even have a chance to get the item. He would never work for free. Wu Lang nodded. "No problem." As he spoke, a storage ring was handed to Qin Shujian. "Sect Master Qin's reward is inside. You can check it." "Brother Wu, you've prepared for this." A smile tugged at the corner of Qin Shujian's mouth. He was increasingly concerned about the situation in the Imperial Court. Straightforward. Everything was too straightforward. Under such circumstances, the more straightforward it was, the more it proved that the Imperial Court was in a desperate situation. Or else, with the Imperial Court's power, they wouldn't do this. Just like killing the demons last time, the process of reporting back and forth took a lot of time. Now that everything was simple, it explained a lot. He took the storage ring. This time, Qin Shujian did not need to drip a drop of blood on it. A supreme power of his divine sense fell on it, easily erasing the master recognition mark in the storage ring. Then, he left his own divine sense imprint. In less than a breath, this storage ring had already changed owners. He could do this because he had broken through to the diviner realm. When he was at the peak of the divine martial realm, to make a storage ring recognize its owner, he couldn't do without the old method of dripping blood on it. He used his divine will to check it. Soon, Qin Shujian retreated from inside with a smile on his face. "I wonder when Brother Wu would like me to leave?" "As soon as possible. I need 3 days to prepare. I'll leave with Brother Wu in 3 days." "Okay." Wu Lang nodded. 3 days wasn't a long time. He could afford to wait. After making the decision, Wu Lang stood up and said goodbye. "I'll leave first. I'll visit your sect in 3 days. No need to trouble yourself. Brother Wu, you can rest in Liangshan City. I'll find you when the time comes." Then it's a deal. It's a deal. After settling the matter, Wu Lang also felt that the dark clouds in his heart had dispersed by quite a bit. Soon after, he left. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian's mind flickered. In the distance, Niu Feng's ears twitched slightly. He had already arrived outside the courtyard and was just in time to send Wu Lang down the mountain. After the 2 of them left, Qin Shujian took out some things from his storage ring. First, he took out the 27 square formation discs from his storage ring. Following that, He took out another 81 spirit stones and cast them into the formation plate through casting. As the spirit stones entered, the formation plate was still a high-grade spirit tool, but its power had increased by at least 30%. Don't underestimate a 30% increase. For a formation that could rival a celestial, a 30% increase in power was already very powerful. After that, Qin Shujian activated his spiritual eye and looked at Yuanzong's luck. The yellow cloud Qilin above the sect seemed to have become denser, but it hadn't reached the level of transformation yet. My breakthrough to the celestial being realm has also given the sect a lot of luck. However, this luck lacks enough supreme treasures to suppress and stabilize it, so even if it has increased now, it hasn't allowed the sect to break through to the level of a 6th-grade force. Qin Shujian thought to himself. Supreme treasures weren't the only thing that could increase the luck. For example, if the cultivation of the disciples improved by leaps and bounds, or if there was an unparalleled expert, or if there was an increase in territory, all of these could increase the luck of the sect. However, such luck was the most illusory. Unless there was an equivalent supreme treasure to suppress and stabilize it, it would be impossible to completely turn the luck into one's own use. Or else, although the accumulation of the luck looked prosperous, it was actually just a pavilion in the sky that was difficult to stabilize at all. Therefore, even if he had broken through to the celestial being realm, the luck wouldn't allow Yuanzong to break through to the 6th-grade force. That was the reason for it. There's still a little distance before it can be promoted. If I have 1 or 2 more Dao artifacts, I should be able to become a 6th-grade force. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian fell into deep thought. After having the Dharma Eye, he could see more clearly how far away the sect was from being promoted. Now that this gap was converted to luck points, how much would it be? After a while, Qin Shujian came back to his senses and had an idea in his mind. With a thought, he injected 81 luck points into the 27 array discs. All of a sudden, the yellow cloud Qilin looked up to the sky and roared. Its body, which was supposed to be like clouds and mist, seemed to be growing a little bit of scales. However, this scale armor only grew a little before it suddenly stopped. The aura that was about to transform was also stuck in the middle and couldn't complete the final transformation. On the other side, after the luck was injected, the 27 array discs shone brightly. Originally, they were just ordinary spirit artifacts that didn't have the effect of suppressing luck. Now, with the injection of luck, they transformed and entered the ranks of half-step Dao artifacts. On the array discs, Dao patterns were engraved. However, the amount of luck was too little, so the Dao patterns of each array disc couldn't be completely engraved. Only half of them stayed there. Seeing this, Qin Shujian couldn't help but smile. An array disc made of 27 half-step Dao artifacts. In this way, coupled with my current strength, perhaps I have a certain degree of confidence to deal with a 4th-level celestial being expert. 4th-level celestial being was the Saint Realm. Experts at this level were already different from the Transcendent Realm. They were gradually controlling the power of heaven and earth, fighting across realms. After breaking through to the celestial being level, it was no longer that easy. Subsequently, Qin Shujian took out 2 crystals from the storage ring that Wu Lang gave him. One crystal recorded the 2nd level of the Grandmaster realm. The other crystal recorded a divine-level martial art. After thinking for a while, he first picked up the crystal that recorded the divine-level martial art and then stepped into it with his divine thought. Half an hour later, the crystal in Qin Shujian's hand turned into powder, and he also withdrew from the state of enlightenment. You've learned the divine-level martial art, Sky Cloud Finger. Finger technique. This was the first time Qin Shujian had obtained such a martial art. However, when he carefully digested the insights of the Sky Cloud Finger, he also had a great understanding of this divine-level martial art. It's a good attack finger technique. It's just right for me to use right now. It was also at this moment. Another system notification appeared. Detected that you possess the true meaning of sealing and are compatible with the divine-level martial art, Sky Cloud Finger. Do you wish to consume 1,000 luck points to fuse? Fuse. Looking at this system notification, Qin Shujian raised his eyebrows slightly. 1,000 luck points. This was not a small number. Even now, he would need to kill 10 demons in order to obtain so many luck points. Even if it was injected into a Dao artifact, it was equivalent to 2-3 sealed Dao artifacts. This was different from deducing the Gui Yuan ancestral canon. That was his foundation and lifeline. But the fusion of this divine-level martial art was not necessary. For a moment, Qin Shujian was a little hesitant. Looking at his luck points, he still had more than 30,000 points. The amount was indeed not small. Fine, I'll see what it is after you fuse. Qin Shujian thought for a while and chose to fuse. Soon, 1,000 luck points disappeared. You've consumed 1,000 luck points. You've consumed the divine-level martial art, Sky Cloud Finger. You've consumed the true meaning of sealing. You've obtained the divine-level martial art, Sky Cloud God Sealing Finger. Sky Cloud God Sealing Finger? Qin Shujian comprehended the divine-level martial art that had already transformed and only came back to his senses after a long time. After completely consuming the Sky Cloud God Sealing Finger, his face once again revealed a smile. This wave is not a loss. Although the divine-level martial arts were divided into strong and weak, they did not have a specific grade. At this level of martial arts, they were no longer divided into low and high grades. Once they stepped into the divine level, they would be called divine-level martial arts. If the heavenly cloud finger before the fusion could only be considered as average or even inferior among the divinity martial arts, then after the fusion with the true meaning of sealing, the heavenly cloud god sealing finger could be considered as superior among the divinity martial arts. More importantly, after the fusion, the sky cloud god sealing finger was no longer divided into levels, it was directly at the level of perfection. It consumed one divine level martial art, 1,000 luck points, and a true meaning of sealing. In the end, it was exchanged for a sky cloud god sealing finger at the level of perfection. Whether this kind of transaction was a loss or a gain, anyone with a discerning eye could tell. After doing these things, Qin Shujian's attention fell on another crystal stone, the comprehension of the second stage of the Grandmaster. Speaking of which, he was now at the peak of the first stage of the Grandmaster. He was only one step away from the second stage of the Grandmaster. The peak of the first stage was roughly what it meant. So, Qin Shujian also had the idea of using this comprehension to break through the second stage of the Grandmaster. If he succeeded, then he would directly save 1 billion life source. Very soon, Qin Shujian's divine consciousness fell on the crystal stone. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Shujian walked out of the courtyard, gave some simple instructions, and then walked towards Cold Mountain City. Cold Mountain City, in an inn. After Wu Lang left the Yuan sect, he had been suffering for the past 3 days. Although he did not think that Qin Shujian would go back on his words. But as long as the other party did not come, he could not truly be at ease. Ever since he broke through to the God martial arts realm, it was rare for Wu Lang to be so restless. After all, it would take a normal cultivator hundreds of years to cultivate to the God martial arts realm. What had he not experienced in a few hundred years? But, now that the situation in the great Zhao country was grim, Wu Lang also felt that he was insignificant in the face of such a situation. It was also because of this that his mind was in a mess. However, Qin Shujian did not make him wait for long. Once the 3 days were up, he arrived at Cold Mountain City. With the Yuan sect's influence in Cold Mountain City, it was not difficult to find out where a person lived. Brother Wu, this Qin has arrived. Please come down and meet me. Wu Lang, who was in the guest room, suddenly heard a voice in his mind. After being stunned for a short while, a look of relief appeared on his face. A voice transmission through divine consciousness. Wu Lang immediately stood up and left the guest room. When he walked downstairs, he saw Qin Shujian sitting there. He ordered a pot of tea and looked at the surrounding scenery like an ordinary young master. Cold Mountain City was a city built by a top sect. This was destined. Those who were able to enter this place were almost all people with a cultivation base. Even a waiter who served tea was at least at the 6th stage of the martial arts realm, a cultivator who had reached the peak of qi and blood. If they were in the mortal world, a cultivator at the 6th stage of the martial arts realm had a high status. No matter what, He was an expert who could fight against 100 people. But in Cold Mountain City, he was willing to be a waiter at the lowest level. To put it bluntly, or it was because there were too many powerful cultivators here. If a powerful cultivator took a fancy to him, he would be able to get some benefits from it. It was something he would pursue for his entire life. Under such circumstances, naturally, those low-level cultivators would flock here like a flock of ducks. Actually, it was not just Cold Mountain City. Most of the other sects and cities were like this. But in Bayun Mansion, the other cities were not as big as Cold Mountain City. In the end, it was because of the Yuan sect, especially during this period of time. Although the news of Qin Shujian breaking through to the heaven realm was not deliberately spread, it still spread like wildfire. Regarding this news, many of the cultivators were skeptical of the news. This was because the news was simply too shocking. Qin Shujian had only broken through to the divine martial realm for a few months. Even if he kept taking pills, swallowing heavenly treasures, and even if he had a powerful cultivator to pass on his cultivation, it was impossible for him to break through to the heaven realm in such a short time. Even if Qin Shujian had stayed in this realm for a few more years, or even a few decades, it would be more believable. But a few months. To be honest, if they did not see it with their own eyes, not many people would believe it. Sect Master Qin, Brother Wu. Qin Shujian smiled and then gestured to the seat in front of him, saying, Brother Wu, do you want to have a cup of tea first? No, let's set off immediately. Wu Lang shook his head. He was not in the mood to drink tea now. Seeing this, Qin Shujian did not force the issue and left the place with the man. As for paying, this was the Yuan sect's property. It was too unreasonable for him, the sect master, to pay for a cup of tea. In front of the teleportation gate, 2 Yuan sect disciples respectfully opened the teleportation gate. Then, Qin Shujian and Wu Lang stepped in. Now, the Central State Prefecture was besieged. In order to prevent the rebels from invading, the teleportation gates of many cities in the Central State Prefecture had been cut off from some other prefectures. Even, every time a city fell, the original teleportation gate in the city would be closed. But fortunately, there was one thing that happened. The teleportation gate between the Central State Prefecture and the Bayun Mansion was not closed. Zongyang City. The teleportation gate flashed, and the two directly appeared here. Sect Master Qin, if you want to directly cross other prefectures and reach the Central State Prefecture, you have to change to an official teleportation gate. Wu Lang walked on the side and led Qin Shujian in another direction. The teleportation gate built in each capital city is extraordinary. It is said that the person who built it is at least an expert of the second level of the Grandmaster realm. Therefore, the teleportation gate can cross prefectures. However, opening a teleportation gate across prefectures consumes a lot of energy. Qin Shujian walked slowly and listened to the other party's words. It had only been 3 or 4 years since he came to this world. During this time, he was almost obsessed with improving his strength and did not know much about foreign things. He only knew a little about some of the more secretive things. Now that Wu Lang was willing to say a few more words, he was happy to listen. Seeing Qin Shujian's interest, the smile on Wu Lang's face widened. He tirelessly said, Sect Master Qin should know that generally, to open a teleportation gate, one only needs to inject spirit qi. This kind of teleportation is usually done in adjacent areas, and it does not consume much energy. If it is a large-scale teleportation, you need to use spiritual stones. But generally speaking, as long as it is not an interprefectural teleportation, it will consume about 6 to 9 spiritual stones. These spiritual stones can withstand about 30 to 40 teleportations. After that, the spiritual stones will be exhausted and need to rest for a while before they can be used again. But if it is an interprefectural teleportation, these spiritual stones can only withstand 30 teleportations, and they will be permanently damaged. After 30 teleportations, the spiritual stones will break, and there is no possibility of repair. Hearing this, Qin Shujian was also stunned and couldn't help but say, in this case, the cost of interprefectural teleportation is too high. 30 teleportations sounded like a lot. One had to know that a single spirit stone was not cheap. 30 teleportations would consume 6 to 9 spiritual stones, which was not a small price at all. Of course. Wu Lang nodded and said with a sigh. So unless it is a critical moment, it will not be used like this. At most, it will take a little more time to transfer to an adjacent area. Anyway, there is not much difference. But, speaking up to here, Wu Lang sighed again. Now that the three prefectures close to Baiyun Prefecture, Nanfeng, Baidong, and Pingchuan Prefectures have rebelled, the teleportation gates connecting to Baiyun Prefecture and Zhengzhou Prefecture are also closed. In this case, if we want to go to Zhengzhou Prefecture, we will have to choose one of the three prefectures to cross. Otherwise, we will have to use interprefectural teleportation. If I'm not mistaken, the news of Sect Master Qin's reinforcements has definitely spread. The rebels might even send people to stop you. Therefore, it's better to head directly to the Central Province Prefecture and avoid a lot of trouble. Hearing this, Qin Shujian was silent. Even if not many people believe that he had broken through to the diviner realm, his identity as a formation grandmaster could not be faked. Now, the rebels were focused on conquering Zhengzhou Prefecture. If someone wanted to help the imperial court, they would not just stand by and watch. It was inevitable that they would interfere. While Wu Lang was talking, the two of them had already arrived at the inner city. Just like Shunqing City, the imperial court's official teleportation formation was in the inner city, and the inner city was also one of the most heavily guarded places in the city. Stop! You are not allowed to enter the inner city. A general in armor with a saber at his waist blocked their way. Seeing this, Wu Lang immediately took out his identity token and handed it over. After seeing it, the general's expression changed slightly. He immediately returned it with both hands respectfully. So it is Lord Envoy. Please go in. Thank you. Wu Lang also nodded, then took the token and put it away. Then, he walked into the inner city with Qin Shujian. May I ask where you are going? Guangdong City of Zhengzhou Prefecture. Wu Lang thought for a while and finally chose a place. The teleportation was not done randomly. Now that Zhengzhou Prefecture was burning with the flames of war, it would be very troublesome if they were accidentally teleported into the enemy's lair. After all, the teleportation gate in the imperial court's hands would immediately close the connection with the original city when the city was breached. But Zhongyang City might not be able to do it immediately. As for the imperial city, it also needed to be transferred through the cities in Zhengzhou Prefecture. The capital cities of other prefectures only had the right to enter Zhengzhou Prefecture directly, but not the imperial city directly. Hearing this, the general's expression changed. Then he respectfully replied, I understand. Going to Zhengzhou Prefecture meant that it would cost a lot. Wu Lang used the teleportation gate as an envoy of the imperial court, so it was naturally impossible for him to bear the cost. And looking at Wu Lang, he did not intend to bear the cost. In the end, the cost would still fall on Zhongyang City. However, the general also knew that it was impossible for him to ask Wu Lang for money. It did not take long. Everything had been prepared. Then, Qin Shujian and Wu Lang stepped into the teleportation gate and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The spirit stones that were originally inlaid on the teleportation gate suddenly dimmed a little, and small cracks appeared on them, like thin strands of hair. I hope this kind of thing will not happen again, otherwise it will be a great loss. When the general saw this, a pained expression appeared on his face. Then he carefully put away the spirit stones again. Kill. In a city, there was already chaos at this time. The imperial court's army and the rebels' army. Both sides were killing each other, turning this place into an Azura battlefield. In the sky, Du Chengwu's aura filled the sky, and the moment he punched, the void distorted violently. When the terrifying power erupted, the imperial court's heavenly being who was fighting with him suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. Then, he took out a jade talisman from his storage ring and squeezed it hard. Then a powerful attack erupted. The moment the attack erupted, the heavenly being coughed up blood again. Then his body turned into a stream of light and fled into the distance. You run fast. Du Chengwu destroyed the attack with a punch. His face was cold and fierce. Looking at the heavenly being's back, killing intent flashed across his face. He did not chase after him. If a heavenly being was determined to escape, it was very difficult to stop him. Moreover, In terms of speed, it was not his forte, so he might as well not waste his effort. Anyway, they were not in a hurry now. If these heavenly beings fled, then so be it. Anyway, when they encroached on the Central State Prefecture step by step, they would not be able to escape in the end. Thinking of this, Du Chengwu suppressed the killing intent in his heart, then looked at the situation in the city. He punched out in the air, and the body of a great cultivator in the god martial arts realm exploded, turning into a bloody mist that filled the sky. For a moment, a terrifying power spread out. Surrender or die. Du Chengwu's domineering voice resounded throughout the city. For a moment, the resistance in the city weakened a lot. In the end, the remaining resistance was also strangled, and the rest of the people abandoned their weapons and surrendered. Chapter 473. The remnants of the army surrendered. The rest of the matter was much simpler. On one hand, Du Chengwu arranged for people to stabilize the situation in the city. On the other hand, he recovered his strength as quickly as possible and continued to attack the next city. Marquis, there's a disturbance at the transportation gate. At this time, one of his subordinates came to report. Du Chengwu had a puzzled expression and then said, "Go take a look." There was a disturbance at the transportation gate. Could it be that reinforcements from the imperial court had arrived? But now that the city had been taken down by him, what was the difference between sending reinforcements now and sending them to their deaths? Thinking of this, Du Chengwu immediately ordered all archers to surround the transportation gate. If the great Zhao army comes through, kill them immediately. As you command. Transporting people across prefectures was different from transporting people across regions. It was impossible to arrive instantly. This process required some time. By the time Qin Shujian and Wu Lang came out of the transportation gate, a few minutes had already passed. This is Guangding City? Qin Shujian's expression was somewhat strange. Looking at the surrounding scene, he didn't know what to say. As for Wu Lang, when he saw the surrounding scene clearly, his expression was as ugly as if his entire family had died. Guangding City has been taken. How can this be? How can Guangding City be taken so quickly? The reason why they chose Guangding City was because it was the closest to the imperial city. It was considered one of the lifelines of the Central State Prefecture. Although the situation in the Central State Prefecture was chaotic now, Guangding City was one of the safest cities apart from the imperial city. From Wu Lang's perspective, it was impossible for Guangding City to be taken in a short time. If Guangding City was taken, it meant that the imperial court had been completely defeated. The army was about to surround the imperial city. But Wu Lang looked at the smoke that had yet to disperse, as well as the dense group of archers that surrounded the two of them. However, from their attire, it was clear that they were not the army of the imperial court. He had no choice but to believe a fact. That was, Guangding City had been taken. Lord Qin, Guangding City has been taken. This one has miscalculated. We must immediately leave here and head to the imperial city. Soon, Wu Lang collected his thoughts and calmed down. As for the surrounding archers, they were completely ignored by him. It was impossible to stop a celestial being and a divine martial being with just a few soldiers. If he really wanted to leave, it was just a matter of minutes. Qin Shujian shook his head and said indifferently, "We want to leave, but I'm afraid some people won't let us." "What do you mean?" Wu Lang frowned and followed Qin Shujian's gaze. In an instant, his expression changed drastically, as if he had seen something terrifying. Du Chengwu. If it was any other cultivator, even if it was a sky human expert, they would not have been able to escape. Even Wu Lang would not be so shocked. But Fallen Moon Marquis Du Chengwu was completely different. The strength of the other party had reached the peak of the Saint Realm and was close to the level of a half-step Almighty. Such strength. In his opinion, even Qin Shujian would not be able to contend with him. However, compared to Wu Lang's shock, Qin Shujian was much calmer. Although he looked at Du Chengwu with a solemn expression, he did not lose his composure. "Your Fallen Moon Marquis Du Chengwu. I've heard of you for a long time." He had been to Fallen Moon Mansion and received a reward from Marquis Fallen Moon. But at that time, He had only heard of Marquis Fallen Moon's name and had never seen him in person. Now that he saw Du Chengguo, Qin Shujian sensed a vast and profound aura from the other party. On the other side, when Qin Shujian looked over, Du Chengguo's expression changed as well. It was as if he had seen something unbelievable. Sky human. At first glance, he could tell that Qin Shujian was a sky human. That resonance with heaven and earth could only be triggered by an expert of the same level. Compared to Qin Shujian's unfamiliarity with him, although Du Chengguo had never seen Qin Shujian in person, he had seen his information screen, so he recognized him immediately. But recognizing him was one thing. When he sensed the other party's realm, he could not help but be shocked. If he remembered correctly, the other party had just broken through to the divine martial realm. But now, he had turned into a Deva expert in the blink of an eye. Even though Du Chengguo was experienced and knowledgeable, he had never seen such a thing. The scene was silent for a long time. When Du Chengguo came back to his senses, he said with a little shock, "I didn't expect the rumor that Sect Master Qin had broken through to the sky human realm to be true. You have only been a cultivator for 3 or 4 years, and you have already broken through to the sky human realm. This cultivation speed really makes this Marquis blush with shame. Marquis Fallen Moon, you flatter me. A mere transcendent is not comparable to a saint. Now that you have reached the transcendent level, becoming a saint is not far away. With Sect Master Qin's potential, I'm afraid he will be able to reach the mighty realm in the future." Du Chengguo sighed. Then, his gaze fell on Wu Lang. It was just a glance. Wu Lang's mind trembled. If not for Qin Shujian standing beside him, he would definitely turn and leave. The gap between the divine martial realm and the sky human realm was huge, not to mention Du Chengguo, who was at the peak of the saint realm. However, Du Chengguo only glanced at Wu Lang, then looked away and back at Qin Shujian. What is Sect Master Qin's purpose in coming to the Central State Prefecture? I have been invited by the Imperial Court to help the Imperial City. Qin Shujian did not hide it and said frankly. He believed that Wu Lang's invitation to the Yuan sect would not be hidden from these people's eyes and ears. Moreover, he was standing with Wu Lang now. Even if Du Chengguo did not know anything before, he should understand now. As expected, after hearing Qin Shujian's words, Du Chengguo's expression did not change at all. Now that the great Zhao dynasty is about to be destroyed, why does Sect Master Qin want to go like a moth to a flame? It is better to join forces with us. When the imperial city is destroyed, this Marquis will be able to give you the things that great Zhao promised you. Originally, he did not intend to rope in Qin Shujian. After all, the rebel army had the upper hand now, and the great Zhao dynasty was powerless to reverse the situation. Although Qin Shujian was a formation Dao Grandmaster, his own cultivation and strength were only average. It would be difficult for him to be of much use. He was not like the imperial court who had reached the end of the road. He could not be so desperate as to rope in everyone. However, after seeing Qin Shujian's sky human realm, Du Chengguo changed his mind. A formation grandmaster was nothing. A transcendent sky human was nothing. However, the combination of the two could not be ignored. Hearing this, Qin Shujian did not move, but Wu Lang's expression changed slightly. Now that Du Chengguo was in front, he could not guarantee that Qin Shujian would not go back on his word. If the other party went back on his word, he would be dead. Although he was worried, Wu Lang did not speak and quietly waited for Qin Shujian's reply. The current situation. It was not something a divine martial artist like him could influence. Whether he lived or died depended on Qin Shujian's choice. On the side, Qin Shujian pondered for a moment, then shook his head and laughed. Marquis Fallen Moon's offer is indeed tempting, but I am a man of my word. I'm afraid I will have to disappoint you. Sect Master Qin, have you thought it through? I have. Qin Shujian nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, the scene fell silent. The next moment, the space suddenly exploded, and the two disappeared at the same time. Then, they collided in the void. Qin Shujian pressed out a finger, and the 365 star acupoints in his body vibrated violently. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed color, and when the astral finger fell, endless killing intent was revealed. As soon as he attacked, he had all his strength. Facing an expert at the peak of the Saint Realm like Du Chengwu, any reservation would only lead to death. Sky Cloud Finger? No, it's not the Sky Cloud Finger. When Du Chengwu saw this finger, a strange look appeared on his face. It was not that he had never seen the heavenly cloud finger before, but the one displayed by Qin Shujian seemed to be the same. It had a bit of the charm of the heavenly cloud finger, but it was completely different. However, he did not think too much about it. By the time Qin Shujian made his move, he had already sent out a punch. Who cares what finger? He would break it with a punch. Boom! The astral finger shattered. Qin Shujian's body shook, and he uncontrollably retreated. In an instant, the blood and qi in his body were surging. With just one move, the gap between the early Skyman and the peak of the Saint Realm had already been revealed. However, Qin Shujian was already prepared. The Zhou Tian stars in his body vibrated, and a vast force gushed out from his acupoints, forcibly suppressing the surging blood and qi. Then, with another finger, wind and thunder roared, sweeping across the sky. On the other side, Du Chengwu's face also became a little more dignified. In the fight just now, he found that Qin Shujian's strength was not as simple as the first level of the Skyman realm. That power was much weaker than the second or third level of the Skyman realm. Thinking of this, Du Chengwu's heart was even more dignified. Not only did he have great potential, but he was also extremely strong. He also had the strength to challenge those at a higher level in the Skyman realm. If such a person could not be an ally, he must be killed. While his thoughts were turning, the two had fought no less than dozens of times. The power of the integrated Sky Cloud God's sealing finger was indeed extraordinary. Among the many divine-level martial arts that Qin Shujian had obtained, it was currently the first. Of course, the Sky Cloud God's sealing finger was also a consummate martial art, but it could not erase the power of this martial art. But even so, after fighting for more than a dozen times, Qin Shujian also fell into a disadvantage. The gap between the two could not be made up by a martial art. Boom! Another collision. Qin Shujian snorted. The moment he retreated, he waved his hand. Thousands of formation patterns formed a large formation and immediately swallowed Du Chengwu. Then, he landed on the ground, grabbed Wu Lang, and shouted, "Let's go!" Hearing that, Wu Lang did not dare to resist. Like a little chick, he was directly carried away by Qin Shujian. As a great cultivator of the god martial arts realm, it was the first time he encountered such a dilemma. However, Wu Lang also understood the importance of the matter. Now Qin Shujian was obviously not a match for Du Chengwu. If he wanted to escape from the hands of a Skyman, only a fellow Skyman could do it. If he wanted to escape by himself, it was undoubtedly a fool's dream. So, Wu Lang was not annoyed by the predicament in front of him. Instead, he was grateful that Qin Shujian did not leave him alone and escape. Just at the moment when the two of them escaped, suddenly, two great cultivators at the peak of the god martial arts realm soared into the sky and directly attacked Qin Shujian. "Wanna leave? Stay." Although the peak of the god martial arts realm was not a Skyman, the power that erupted from them could not be ignored. Looking at the two figures that soared into the sky, Qin Shujian was instantly furious. Get lost. As soon as he finished speaking, the 365-star acupoints in his body went berserk. Two energy fingers turned into long rainbows and instantly stirred up the wind and clouds like thunder. Boom! The void exploded. The two great cultivators at the peak of the god martial arts realm who had just appeared could not even resist and were directly killed by the two energy fingers. Under the raging power, they exploded into two clouds of blood mist. Unparalleled power was displayed, and it immediately deterred the others who wanted to make a move. At this moment, the formation shattered. Du Chengwu stepped out with killing intent. His fist encompassed the sky, the earth, the sun, and the moon. The energy fist expanded in the wind and pressed down on Qin Shujian. How could it be so easy to leave after killing two of his peak god martial arts realm cultivators? If he let the other party escape today, he, Du Chengwu, would be utterly humiliated. After all, A peaked saint was fighting a skyman at the first level of the skyman realm. Not only did the other party not escape, but he also lost 2 peak god martial arts realm cultivators. It would be a joke if word got out. Let's go. Qin Shujian flung Wu Leng aside. In the next instant, the 1,000 mountain blood appeared in his hand. He pushed his saber true intent to the extreme. The shadow of a long saber tore through the sky, causing tens of thousands of soldiers to wail. Then, the 1,000 mountain blood slashed out with endless lightning bolts and collided with the energy fist. Bang! The energy saber shattered. Qin Shujian hurriedly retreated. As he coughed up blood, he waved his hand again and set up a grand formation that swallowed Du Chengwu. However, this time, the grand formation had just been set up when it was torn apart by the raging power. That's King fast. Qin Shujian cursed under his breath. He did not even have time to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. He waved his hand again and set up another grand formation. That was not all. He expended his divine will rapidly. In less than a breath, more than a dozen formations were formed at once. Then, he threw them at Du Chengwu. Can't you break formations? Let me show you, Sect Master Qin. The moment the formation was shaken off, Qin Shujian did not even look back as he fled for his life. As for the confrontation, he had no intention of doing so for the time being. The peak of the Saint Realm was worthy of its reputation. There was a gap of 5 small realms between them. Such a gap could not be made up with just a foundation. Du Chengwu had been famous for many years, and his strength was unfathomable. In Qin Shujian's opinion, it was already good that he could fight with him. If he wanted to defeat him, it was not something that a first-tier heavenly being could do. Even if he advanced 1 or 2 realms in the future, he might not be able to do it. Of course, if he stepped into the Saint Realm, Qin Shujian would definitely teach Du Chengwu a lesson about how to conduct himself. However, he was not strong enough now, so he had to retreat. As for his face, forget it. It was good enough that he was alive. What face did he want? Qin Shujian turned into a rainbow and tore through the sky. In front of him, Wu Lang was still running for his life. Suddenly, he felt a terrifying aura approaching him from behind. Before he could react, he received a divine sense transmission. Don't resist. Before the voice transmission ended, Wu Lang felt that he was lifted up again, and the surrounding scenery changed rapidly. Behind him, Du Chengwu chased relentlessly. The dozens of formations that Qin Shujian set up in one breath only stopped the other party for 1 or 2 breaths. Feeling the aura approaching from behind, he couldn't help but curse. He's really good at chasing. Peak of the Saint Realm, right? I'll remember this. For so many years, no one had ever chased him to such an extent. He would be lying to himself if he said that he wasn't angry at all. At this moment, Wu Lang struggled to raise his head and saw the blood on Qin Shujian's body. He couldn't help but ask, Sect Master Qin, are you injured? How about I let you go down and fight with Du Chengwu? Qin Shujian looked unfriendly. You don't know what to say. Hearing that, Wu Lang immediately shut up. He also realized that he had asked the wrong question. A genius like Qin Shujian must be a proud and arrogant person. Now that he was being chased everywhere, one could imagine the anger in his heart. If he angered the other party at this time, he might really be thrown down. Qin Shujian, you can't escape. Behind him, Du Chengwu's eyes were cold as he kept closing the distance between them. Looking from below, 2 long rainbows broke through the sky, one in front and one behind. Feeling the pressure, Qin Shujian asked anxiously, where is the imperial city? Right in front. Wu Lang immediately replied. Hearing this, Qin Shujian directly changed his direction and rushed toward the imperial city. Seeing that, Du Chengwu's face became colder. How could he not know what Qin Shujian and Wu Lang's plan was? They wanted to escape to the imperial city and then get rid of his pursuit. Thinking of that, Du Chengwu's face became ruthless. The vital essence in his body burst out, and suddenly there was a terrifying explosion in the void. His figure had already disappeared into the distance. Suddenly, the distance between them was less than a mile. Let's go. Qin Shujian directly threw Wu Lang off, then turned around and launched a finger seal. The power of the heavenly cloud god's sealing finger erupted to the peak. Heavenly cloud god's sealing finger. Strictly speaking, it was divided into two moves, heavenly cloud and god sealing. The former killed the enemy, the latter sealed. Qin Shujin's eyes became ruthless. When the heavenly cloud god's sealing finger blasted out, he directly slashed out with his spiritual will. The invisible blade directly cut toward Du Chengwu. Spirit-severing martial art. In the void, Du Chengwu saw the incoming finger force and was about to attack when suddenly he felt a slight pain in his head and his mind was in a trance for a moment. It was just a short delay. The finger force was already in front of him. The peak of the Saint Realm reacted very quickly. When the finger force was about to hit him, he punched out first, and the powerful force immediately destroyed the finger force. But the moment the finger force was destroyed, a powerful sealing force turned into a large net, trying to seal all his vital essence and spiritual will. Child's play. Du Chengwu smiled disdainfully. The qi and blood power in his body shook, and the sealing net immediately shattered. On the other side, Qin Shujin took advantage of this moment to open up a little more distance between him and Du Chengwu. But this distance was not even a step away for the peak of the Saint Realm. Soon, the two sides fought. By now, Qin Shujin did not dare to underestimate him. Zhou Tian's stellar acupoints in his body trembled, and waves of pure energy continuously surged out, allowing him to exert strength that was far beyond the first level of the Sky Realm. Although this kind of strength was far from the peak of the Saint Realm, it was not to the extent of being defeated. Just like that, Qin Shujin fought and retreated, constantly extending the battle line toward the imperial city. However, every collision caused his body to tremble. His body, which was supposed to be strong, gradually showed signs of cracking under the bombardment of this force. Such an injury, it was directly affecting the body, and it was not something that a spotless immortal robe could block. As for Wu Lang, he had already run away. Du Chengwu punched out and said arrogantly, "Qin Shujin, if you're willing to submit to me, I can spare your life. Then let's see if you're worthy." Qin Shujin laughed in anger. The storage ring in his hand flashed, and a 6th-grade golden lotus bloomed. The strength of a Sky Realm cultivator directly activated the power of this 3-seal Dao artifact. Dao artifact. Du Chengwu's face turned cold, and a pair of gloves appeared in his hands. The other party refused to surrender, and he did not intend to waste time with him. After putting on the gloves, the aura on his body suddenly skyrocketed. When his fist landed, the 6th-tier golden lotus trembled violently. The illusory golden lotus lasted for less than a breath's time before it was destroyed. Boom! The golden lotus was sent flying, and its light dimmed. After destroying the 3 seals golden lotus with a single punch, Du Chengwu took a step forward and lashed out with a whip kick. Then, he charged toward Qin Shujin at lightning speed. Bang! The spotless immortal robe emitted a light shield, and then it was shattered by the terrifying force. But it was only a hindrance. Qin Shujin took advantage of the recoil force and calmly retreated. You have quite a lot of tricks, but no matter how many 3-seal Dao artifacts you have, they're still just 3-seal Dao artifacts. They're not good enough. Du Chengwu sneered, and there was a trace of seriousness in his eyes when he saw Qin Shujin's endless Dao artifacts. As for the other side, when Qin Shujin saw that the other party used the 6-seal Dao artifact, he knew that it was difficult to let this matter go. If he retreated at this time, he might die even faster. So, holding Qin Shanxue in his hand, he took a step forward and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The next second, he appeared behind Du Chengwu and slashed with his long saber, erupting with endless sharpness. Du Chengwu seemed to have expected this. He moved his body to the side to avoid the blade. Then, he punched the blade. Suddenly, Qin Shanxue let out a sorrowful cry, as if it couldn't bear this force. Qin Shujin's body shook, and the arm holding the saber cracked. But the injury recovered immediately. Then, without any pause, he disappeared again, entering the Dao with footwork. After he broke through to the celestial being realm, his advantage was even more prominent. However, Du Chengwu's speed was not slow at all. As soon as Qin Shujian retreated, his killing move had already followed. Boom, boom. The two exchanged blows in the air, and the destructive aftermath spread out, causing the clouds within 100 miles to retreat. The terrifying aura directly alarmed the experts from all sides. At this moment, Qin Shujian's mind was completely immersed. This was the most dangerous situation he had encountered since he entered this world. Every step, every move, they were walking between life and death. If he was careless, he might lose and die. Under the threat of life and death, Qin Shujian found that his spirit was gradually transforming. The speed of his attacks became faster and fiercer. Chapter 474. However, this feeling didn't last long before Qin Shujian had to withdraw. There was no other reason but because Du Qingwu was giving him more and more pressure. At this time, he had also taken out his final trump card. 27 square array discs appeared in the sky like stars falling to the earth. In an instant, a large array had been formed. The combination of 27 half-step Taoist array discs, coupled with the activation of the array engraved on them, was more terrifying than a 3-seal Taoist artifact. In the array, 27 stars swayed. Thousands of rainbow lights bombarded down, vowing to kill Du Qingwu. Array. Du Qingwu's face was solemn. The array in front of him was different from the array he had encountered just now. Its power was many levels higher. Therefore, when the rainbow lights bombarded, he also broke the sky with his fist and destroyed all the rainbow lights with a strong posture. Then, Du Qingwu took a step into the air and rushed toward the stars in the sky. However, when he was about to approach the stars, the void twisted and changed. The distance between them, which was originally not that far, suddenly widened by a long distance. In the middle of the array eye, Qin Shujian's divine sense covered the entire array, and the changes of the array were all under his control. Du Qingwu, this array was set up by me with 27 half-step Taoist artifacts. Even if your strength is great, you can't break out of it in a short time. Originally, he didn't intend to expose this trump card so quickly. After all, it was not easy to refine the array discs. If there was any damage, he would have to find something to repair it. Qin Shujian prepared this trump card to deal with other cultivators. He never thought that he would use it against Du Qingwu, who was at the peak of the Saint Realm. However, now that the other party was going to fight to the death, there was no need to hide it. The array changed, and all the mysteries were like a flash in the pan. The moment it dissipated, it turned into a terrifying killing intent. Du Qingwu's divine sense spread out. Every time he punched, the array trembled slightly. So what if your array formation is profound? You're still far from being able to defeat me with this array formation. Why should I defeat you? This place is not far from the Imperial City. Guess who will arrive first? The experts of the Imperial Court or the experts of your rebels? Qin Shujian sneered and said disdainfully. Moreover, the army is now approaching the Imperial City. I'm afraid that even if the other dukes see this, they might not be willing to help. After all, you're more useful to them now that you're dead. Hearing this, Du Qingwu looked calm on the surface, but his heart sank. He understood the meaning of Qin Shujian's words. Now that the Great Zhao's power had been greatly reduced, there was no longer a need for the alliance of the 7 vassals. On the contrary, however, Great Zhao was currently lacking manpower. As a result, even if the experts of the Great Zhao dynasty arrived, the experts of the other alliances might not come. Seeing this, Qin Shujian continued, I'm only here because of the Imperial Court's invitation. I don't have any intention of fighting to the death for the Imperial Court. Why do we have to end up in an internecine situation and let others benefit from it? Why don't we stop here? You go your way, and I'll go mine. Let's forget about this matter. In the end, a kind smile appeared on Qin Shujian's face. He looked sincere. To tell the truth, he really didn't want to fight Du Qingwu to the death right now. In the end, it was because his strength was too weak. Even if the formation was set up, it could only stop the other party for a short while. It did not have the ability to completely surround and kill the other party. Otherwise, why would Qin Shujian waste time talking nonsense with Du Qingwu? As for what he said just now, he wasn't trying to scare him. This was the truth. If Du Qingwu was determined to fight to the death, there would only be two results. One was to break the formation and kill him before the experts of the Imperial Court arrived. The other was that the experts of the Imperial Court arrived before the formation was broken and then joined forces to kill Du Qingwu. After all, the Imperial Court was determined to kill Du Qingwu if he was alone. At this moment, it would definitely end with one side being defeated and killed. Du Qingwu was silent for a while before he finally nodded and said, "Okay, I agree." In order to show his sincerity, he restrained his strength. On the other side, Qin Shujian also stopped the formation attack. "Remove the formation and let me out. This matter is over for now. If we meet on the battlefield in the future, I won't show any mercy," Du Qingwu said coldly. In response, Qin Shujian also smiled, but the killing intent in his smile was awe-inspiring. "So do I. I hope you won't be killed by me when we meet again. It's good to be confident, but overconfidence is arrogance." Du Qingwu's eyelids drooped as he replied indifferently. Then, the scene fell silent. Obviously, the two sides had nothing to say. Seeing this, Qin Shujian waved his hand and opened a hole in the formation. The defensive power of the formation immediately quieted down. At this moment, Du Qingwu suddenly burst out with a punch that crushed the void and blasted toward Qin Shujian. This scene, Qin Shujian didn't panic at all. Instead, he seemed to have expected it. The original hole in the formation changed and turned into a blade energy that was hundreds of feet long and slashed out. Rumble. The battle broke out in an instant. My heart illuminates the moon, but the moon illuminates the ditch. Qin Shujian shook his head and sighed, but his face was frighteningly cold. "Even if I kill you, I can still leave. Then let's wait and see." Feeling Du Qingwu's determination to kill, Qin Shujian's killing intent was also awe-inspiring. Since Du Qingwu wanted to fight to the death, he would accompany him to the end. The only thing he had to worry about now was whether Wu Lang was reliable or not. A quarter of an hour passed. The battle between the two had reached a white-hot stage. Qin Shujian covered the formation with his divine thought and kept consuming his own strength to maintain the operation of the formation. Du Qingwu, on the other hand, burst out with powerful attacks and kept crashing into the formation. The stars formed by the 27 square formation plates were swaying wildly. The spirit stones inlaid in the formation plates were now almost exhausted. Not only that, under the constant bombardment, even the formation plates, which were half-step Taoist artifacts, showed signs of being unable to bear at this moment. There were faint cracks in the formation plates. Boom! Du Qingwu threw another punch. Du Qingwu suddenly said, "Let's stop now. If we continue to fight, you will definitely lose." "Lose my ass. You still want to leave now? Don't even think about it." Qin Shujian cursed and his eyes were a little red. After paying such a big loss, Du Qingwu still wanted to leave. Don't think that he didn't know that there were several powerful auras approaching. Qin Shujian could guarantee with his head that they were definitely from the Imperial Court. Du Qingwu wanted to leave when he saw that his helpers were coming. How could there be such a good thing in the world? So, Du Qingwu's words were no different from farts in Qin Shujian's ears. In the outside world, several auras were constantly approaching. Dan Hao was the first to rush to the battlefield. Behind him were experts from the Imperial Astronomer. Just as Qin Shujian thought, after Wu Lang escaped, he immediately rushed to the Imperial City to inform Qin Shujian. The news that Du Qingwu was chasing after Qin Shujian also spread in an instant. For Shiyang, the battle strength of every celestial being was indispensable. So, the first thing he did was to send experts over to help. However, in Shi Yang's heart, he was not sure if Qin Shujian could hold on until then. Even though Wu Lang said that Du Qingwu had already become a celestial being, he was still not sure. Because Du Qingwu was not an ordinary celestial being, but a peak saint who was close to becoming a half-step mighty figure. As for Dan Hao, after receiving the order, he rushed over without stopping. He had a good impression of Qin Shujian. If possible, Dan Hao did not want Du Qingwu to die in his hands. However, in his heart, his opinion was similar to Shi Yang's. He was afraid that Du Qingwu would not be able to hold on until they arrived. However, when Dan Hao felt that there were still powerful fluctuations spreading in front of him, he was relieved. Since they were still fighting, it meant that things had not reached the point of no return. With that thought in mind, Dan Hao's speed increased by several notches. At this moment, in the void in front of him, thousands of formation patterns exploded and finally gathered into a shocking slash. Du Qingwu, go to hell. Qin Shujian held the saber with both hands, and the star acupoints in his body exploded. At the same time, he absorbed the vast spirit qi that erupted when the formation was broken and finally made the strongest slash in history. Boom! The shocking saber slashed down, and Du Qingwu retreated quickly. Du Qingwu, don't think you can escape. Dan Hao just arrived. He did not have time to figure out what had happened. He only shot out a spear in the air and smashed toward Du Qingwu with a force that could shatter mountains and seas. Dan Hao. Du Qingwu was shocked and furious. However, he had just endured Qin Shujian's life-risking slash, and his qi and blood had been shaken a lot. At this moment, facing Dan Hao's spear, he could not resist for a while. Puff! Du Qingwu took the spear head-on, and his body was directly sent flying by the terrifying force. When he was in the air, his body cracked and blood splashed like raindrops. However, he took advantage of the momentum of flying and turned into a stream of light to escape. His speed of escape was even faster than when he was chasing after Qin Shujian. Seeing this, Dan Hao could only look at him in the dust and had to give up the idea of chasing him. At this moment, his attention fell on Qin Shujian. Sect Master Qin was not in a good state now. The flesh on his arm was cracked and his qi and blood were unstable. However, the surging battle intent was not extinguished at all. How is Sect Master Qin's injury? Fortunately, it's not a big deal. Fortunately, General Dan came in time. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have been defeated. Qin Shujian shook his head and looked at the scattered fragments of the array disk. His breathing stagnated a little. Gone. Everything was gone. 27 cubic meters of half-step Dao artifact array disk and 81 spirit stones were all gone. The half-step Dao artifact was still okay. It was just some luck points, and he still had a lot of them. However, even Yuan Zong did not have many 9th-level materials to refine the array disk. More importantly, the spirit stones that accompanied the array disk's shattering were what made his heart ache. He had just obtained 100 spirit stones from Wu Lang, and 81 of them were gone. No matter how he thought about it, his heart ached so much that he could hardly breathe. On the surface, Qin Shujian's expression changed again and again. Then, he revealed a miserable look. Seeing this, Dan Hao was stunned and hurriedly asked, Sect Master Qin, have you suffered any serious internal injuries? Please follow me back to the Imperial City and get the Imperial Doctor to treat you. I'm fine. Qin Shujian took a few deep breaths and squeezed out an ugly smile. If you can give me 100 spirit stones, I should be able to recover. Dan Hao ignored the latter part of his words. At this moment, the experts from the Imperial Astronomer had finally arrived. Dan Hao immediately changed the topic and looked at the people from the Imperial Astronomer. Du Qingwu escaped with injuries, but Sect Master Qin suffered some injuries. Let's return to the Imperial City first. Okay. The people from the Imperial Astronomer looked at each other and nodded. Du Qingwu had left. Now, the most important thing was to return to the Imperial City. Dan Hao turned to look at Qin Shujian and asked, Sect Master Qin, can you still fly? It's okay. I won't die. Qin Shujian rolled his eyes at him. He had seen through Dan Hao. Stingy. He was really stingy. The loss this time was equivalent to the reward given by the Imperial Court for nothing. In this way, it was no different from working for free. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian almost choked in his heart. But it was obviously unrealistic to expect the Imperial Court to pay the bill. At this moment, he followed Dan Hao and the others and flew towards the Imperial City. The star acupoints in his body that had exploded were now reopened one by one as time passed. For a celestial being, as long as it was not a fatal injury, it could be healed by itself. And with the characteristics of the star manifestation body, Qin Shujian's physical body was stronger than ordinary celestial beings. His healing ability was even stronger. Sect Master Qin, I didn't expect you to break through to the celestial being realm so quickly. It really makes me feel ashamed. In the air, Dan Hao let out a sigh. This was the celestial being realm. Thinking back to the first time he saw Qin Shujian, the other party was only a spirit martial realm cultivator. Although he used many Dao artifacts to set up a powerful formation and severely injured an evil demon. But at that time, he still saw the other party in his eyes. A formation Dao Grandmaster was strong, but it was not easy to match a celestial being. But now it was different. Qin Shujian had broken through to the celestial being realm, which immediately raised Dan Hao's opinion by several levels. Hearing this, Qin Shujian shook his head and said with a smile, "It's just luck. Now it's easy to break through to the celestial being realm, but it's hard to say if I want to go further in the future." Haha, Sect Master Qin is too modest. A strange light flashed in Dan Hao's eyes. It had long been confirmed that Qin Shujian was the reincarnation of a mighty figure. Now, from the other party's words, he heard some hidden meaning. He was able to break through to the celestial being realm because of the foundation left behind in his previous life. Now that the foundation was exhausted, he could not improve his realm so quickly in the future. For this, Dan Hao also somewhat believed it. After all, no matter how strong the foundation of a reincarnation of a mighty figure was, it could not be endless. Now, it was already incredible that the other party could break through to the celestial being realm in such a short time. Just as the two of them were talking, a vast imperial city appeared in Qin Shujian's sight. Faint yellow clouds appeared in the sky. That was the transformation from nothingness to reality when the luck was rich to the extreme. Seeing this, Qin Shujian also secretly took a breath. The luck is visible to the naked eye. What kind of tyrannical luck is this to reach this step? The current luck of the origin sect was already prosperous enough. But even so, it was not qualified to reach the point where the luck directly appeared like the imperial city. For others who had not seen the luck, the yellow clouds above the imperial city were more like a vision, showing the extraordinariness of the imperial court. But for people who had some understanding of luck, they could understand how shocking the scene in front of them was. The fluctuations in Qin Shujian's heart also attracted Dan Hao's attention. He could not help but ask, "Is something the matter, Sect Master Qin?" "Nothing. I am just shocked by the luck of the imperial city." Qin Shujian came back to his senses and smiled, shaking his head and saying, "The luck of the great Zhao nation is really vast and endless. No wonder it was able to rule the world for thousands of years. If one did not come to the imperial city, they would not have the chance to see such a scene." Haha, Sect Master Qin is too kind. Dan Hao laughed. He only treated Qin Shujian's words as flattery. However, the experts of the imperial astronomer all looked at each other and saw some thought-provoking meaning in each other's eyes. This Sect Master Qin could affect the luck of the nation. That was a little interesting. Qin Shujian did not say much on this topic. The luck of the nation was flourishing in the imperial city, but they could see a blood cloud clashing with it. That was the killing of the military. It also showed that the great Zhao nation was currently in the midst of war. Not long later, they directly entered the imperial city. One of the experts of the imperial astronomer said, "General Dan, Sect Master Qin, we still need to go back and report. We will leave first." "Take care." Dan Hao cupped his hands. At the side, Qin Shujian also cupped his hands symbolically. Then, the experts of the imperial astronomer left. After the experts of the imperial astronomer left, Dan Hao said, "Originally, Sect Master Qin should have gone to see His Majesty. But now that Sect Master Qin has been injured, I will take you to the residence to rest. We will talk about the rest after Sect Master Qin's injuries have healed. Then I will have to trouble you." Qin Shujian did not refuse. In his current state, he indeed needed to rest for a while. Although the self-healing ability of a diviner was very strong, but no matter how strong it was impossible to truly recover in an instant. Not to mention, the injuries on his body were left behind from his fight with Du Chengwu. Zhou Tian's star aperture had exploded and was already in a mess. Even though it had already recovered a lot, it was still not much better. As a result, Qin Shujian's strength was already in a subtle state. Soon, Dan Hao brought Qin Shujian to a residence. Looking at the plaque in front of the residence, Qin Shujian also understood where he was. Bright Vision General's residence. Sect Master Qin's injuries have not healed yet. Since Du Qingwu is so eager to kill you, maybe the other rebels have other ideas. My Bright Vision General's residence is not a dragon's pool or tiger's den, but it will not allow any small fries to invade. Dan Hao's eyes were cold as he said with hidden killing intent. Qin Shujian asked, "Is there anyone who dares to assassinate in the Imperial City?" In the past, there was naturally no one, but in the current situation, it's hard to say. Dan Hao shook his head helplessly. There was some worry between his brows. While the two were talking, the guards guarding the door had consciously opened the door and then retreated to the side. "Greetings, Master." When Dan Hao and Qin Shujian walked in, an old housekeeper came to greet them. "Master, this is Qin Shujian, Sect Master Qin. Arrange a quiet place for him to rest. Don't let anyone disturb him," Dan Hao said and looked at Qin Shujian again. "Sect Master Qin, you should rest today. If you need anything, just let the servants know. I'm afraid I have to go to the Imperial Court today, so I can't receive you for the time being. General Dan, you can take care of yourself." Qin Shujian smiled and then left behind the old housekeeper. Bright Vision General's residence was very big. At least, only the marquee residence in Zhongyang City could be compared to it. Apart from that, there were many experts in the general's residence. In Qin Shujian's perception, there were no less than 3 or 4 experts at the peak of the divine martial realm. There were also many experts below the peak of the divine martial realm. The strength of the general's residence alone was enough to be on par with, or even better than a major sect in a large territory. The old housekeeper led Qin Shujian through many twists and turns before finally arriving at a quiet courtyard. Only then did he stop and turn around to speak respectfully. "Sect Master Qin, you can rest in this courtyard. The servants have already cleaned it up. There are also guards and servants in front of the courtyard. If you need anything, just let them know. Then I'll have to trouble you." "Sect Master Qin, you're angry. Your master's friend, so you're naturally an important guest. How could I dare to neglect you?" The old housekeeper's tone was as respectful as ever. Although the Prime Minister was a 7th grade official, but it also depended on who he was dealing with. For ordinary people, a housekeeper in Bright Vision General's residence was not someone they could offend casually. But at the same time, in front of someone of noble status, a servant was always a servant. Judging from Dan Hao's attitude towards Qin Shujian, the old housekeeper knew that the other party's identity was definitely not that simple. Even some of the officials in the imperial court might not be able to make Dan Hao be so polite. And Qin Shujian's faintly discernible aura made people tremble. This was an expert with a cultivation base that had reached the peak of perfection. To be able to be the housekeeper of Bright Vision General's residence, his strength was not weak at all. He could be considered a great cultivator of the divine martial realm. As a result, it could also make him feel a great deal of pressure. Other than the great cultivator of heaven realm, there was no other existence. Subsequently, Qin Shujian walked into the courtyard. There were 2 beautiful maids standing on his left and right. After seeing someone come in, the 2 of them bowed and said delicately, "Servant greets Lord N." Qin Shujian's eyes did not waver as he walked towards the room. The 2 maids immediately straightened up and opened the door to the left and right. Just as Qin Shujian entered, the 2 of them were about to follow him in. However, just as they were about to step in, a sentence sounded in their ears. "All of you can leave. I prefer silence. I don't want too many people to disturb me." Yes. The 2 maids looked a little disappointed, but they quickly recovered and respectfully left. When they left, they even considerately closed the door. On the other side, after Qin Shujian briefly sized up the room's environment, he did not immediately enter the healing state. Instead, he first set up a simple formation around him, then sat cross-legged on the bed and silently healed his body's injuries, You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.